about dropping those steamy nuggets. So
Yeah, I don't know.
uh,
Nuggets is I use that word, but I don't know if it sounds. I feel like it should be like a higher class word, a like a stem of wisdom or something that's like nicer sounding than nugget, but it
no,
works.
listeners of my podcast will know I dropped the nugget.
No,
Every time I say it, it sounds worse and worse. But I use the terminology. That's part of my nomenclature.
okay, okay, good.
It's time for Gavin Doodle.
This time we have on special guest Tom Froese. Right there, you have to look through the glare on this gilded cover of Mummy's Unwrapped. Tom is an amazing artist that does a variety of work for young and old alike. Let's put it that way. On a variety of different formats, i.e. books and advertisements and items and magazines and whatnot, and does these all these amazing works. And then on top of all of that is a stellar teacher on Skillshare and mentor and coach for aspiring illustrators. And so I want to make sure that we get him in here. Let me try to get this up and running again real quick. I'm going to flip this screen to me. And we're going to try this again one more time. So let's see. If for some reason this does not work, we'll have an issue. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to sit. If this takes. Cross our fingers. We'll cross our toes. We'll cross our eyes. Hey! We got it. We did it. I literally restarted my phone twice before this started, hoping that nothing would be a problem. And of course it was. But welcome.
We did it. Yeah, thanks for having me, Mark.
I didn't mean to start off with a complaint about Instagram right when you come on. I'm like, wait a second. Let me.
No, I feel like somehow that was my fault. I have a lot of technical difficulties often. So, yeah.
No, it's for someone who is a teacher at heart. Every time I go to touch the computer in front of a student, that's when it all falls apart and everything I learned goes out the window. So I think it is across the board on it's a artistic problem in general. When you need it to work, it doesn't work.
Let's blame art.
Yes, thank you for joining tonight. I sort of did a rush job on this last one, but I can't say how amazing you are, or I can't say enough how amazing you are, both as a illustrator, but also as someone who is in the good graces of saying insights to the welcoming illustrators out there. The amount of I go through Instagram, and of course there's lots of images, but then every time I see one of your posts that has something about like, you know, business or about how to prepare your portfolio, even though I've been in the industry for as long as I have, I still stop and read through the thing because I'm like, there's going to be some nugget in this thing that's going to make a difference in my life. So thank you for that.
Yeah, you're welcome. I'm all about dropping those steamy nuggets. So
Yeah, I don't know. Nuggets is I use that word, but I don't know if it sounds. I feel like it should be like a higher class word, a like a stem of wisdom or something that's like nicer sounding than nugget, but it
no,
works.
listeners of my podcast will know I dropped the nugget.
No,
Every time I say it, it sounds worse and worse. But I use the terminology. That's part of my nomenclature.
okay, okay, good. I use it
Yeah.
all. There's words like that I use in class that I always say that artwork is pungent. And what I mean is like bright color, but you can almost smell it. And everybody looks at me and goes, "What do you mean pungent?" And it's like it's just one of those words that fits right. So for those that are watching and those that tune in later, can you give us a little sense of who you are? Give us a little quick sort of elevator pitch. Who is Tom Froese?
Sure. I think. Well, thanks for having me, and hello everyone. I'm an illustrator, a teacher on Skillshare, and a new writer. I'm just a quick little show and tell of my book that launched yesterday. Drawing is important. How to
Yes.
long daily drawing practice, and I'm also for now a podcaster. So those are the things that I do.
With the book, I've been waiting for that to come out, and I'm waiting to get down to the store that we the small independent bookstore near us called Silver Unicorn and see if they have it in stock, and if they don't, I'm going to order it through them.
Awesome.
So I'm excited to have that and use that in class going forward. I teach a business practice class, and so any of those books like that I can get my hands on, I'm hungry for. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, it would be definitely an unexpected business book for sure.
Well, or like things that talk about practice. I
Yeah.
think is where I go. So like half the stuff I use in the business course is like we talk about anything and everything under the sun. Like only probably 20% of it is actually business. The rest of it is like how you survive as a person and how you like think about artwork and whatnot. So tonight we're going to chat. We're going to. I know you have limited time, so I want to make sure that we sort of jump into it quickly. But we're going to chat. Conversation go any which way. Since you host a podcast, I'm sure you're used to talking as well. Feel free to direct the conversation if it goes off the rails, which it does often, to get us on course or to lead us further astray, whatever makes sense for you.
I promise. Great. That's what I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Without editing, there's no like safety nets here.
Yeah. There you go. That's yeah. This is. I'm trying to think. Have I edited any of these? I don't think I have. I don't think I've gone back and taken a chunk out. Like I had to piece them together because of technical issues or whatever. But I don't think I've ever removed something. So all of it stays in. So just be mindful how crazy you get. For today, I know that I asked people up front what they want to draw, and I know that we didn't set up a plan ahead of time. And I have sketches, but I'm also absolutely willing to go down the rabbit hole of you give me a prompt, I give you a prompt, and we see where it goes. If you're up for it.
Okay. I'll say yes to that. I came with something just in case we had nothing, but I say yes. Let's do it.
Okay. I just the challenge, and it may go awry, but I think that's part of the practice of the finished product sometimes isn't always the thing. It's the process that's the knowledge base for all of us. With that being said, material wise, do you have any sense of what you're going to be working with today?
Sure. Yeah. Well, I came prepared with my Ugly Book sketchbook. It's just like a little thing. But just in case that wasn't somehow working, I brought my just big sketchbook paper that might fit the view more or something. So I drawing wise, I have a pencil, a bunch of these plastic paint pens. So I'm ready to go. What about you?
I'm using all I have literally so far is I don't know what it's going to be, but I have the palette picked out. So I'm just using acrylic gouache and tracing paper and pencils and things of the sort. But I always love the challenge. I don't know, because one of the things that I like about your work in particular is, especially, when you get on the website, like when you do something like a Roman soldier book that I have here, like there is, obviously you need to maintain some, not necessarily level of accuracy to the times, but you can't go wild and make them like pink and whatnot. But when we look at your work outside of that, you have the ability to go everywhere with color. But I like to pick a palette before I actually figure out what I'm making, and then adapt the palette to what it is, like what the design is.
Yeah.
And so like picking a palette ahead of time makes it makes it more challenging. Let's put it that way. So whatever you give me, know that there's a palette, but it doesn't matter of any sort.
Okay. So sorry, are you asking me to give you a palette, or are you gonna set the palette? Or?
No, I have the palette. I need to know what I'm using the palette for.
Okay.
So like the equivalent of thinking about sort of if I were to give you a prompt,
mm-hmm.
One of the things that I was wondering about, and looking through the work that you have, there's lots of figure work and things of the sort. I would love to see sort of your interpretation of cityscape. I don't know what that means. Like, I don't know if that means a future city, if that means a past city, if that means a city of today. But the idea of like the complexity of mass people in a confined space.
Mass.
Well, I want to be careful. I don't want to go, hey, I want you to draw everybody in a baseball stadium. Good luck. But the idea of a space that can contain a lot of life. and then how you design around it. Because I know you have a design background too, so seeing how you sort of manage that. But what you got for me?
Okay, I'm gonna have to make something up totally. Um, how about? Sorry, I'm totally.
It's
Oh,
okay.
gotta think fast here. For some reason, the word bedbugs came to my head,
You
and
got it.
I think I just saw it on your website. So that might be like redundant to your content.
No,
That's what,
bedbugs is totally. Why? Why would we have? I wonder like what piece would have had bedbugs related to it, but that's fine. I'm game. I always love bugs, and beds. That's my home away from home. Let's put it that way. So I'm in, and we'll figure out where this thing goes. Um, so why don't we switch to our downshoots, and we can just start chatting and making and see where it goes from there. And again, if you get to a point where you have to jump off, just let me know, and we'll switch back to our faces, and we can do a nice send off.
okay. This is not going to be very smooth at all, but here we go.
Okay. No worries. No worries.
I'm gonna try not to push buttons with this clippy thing. And you're looking up. Can I make this look down, or do I have to point it? Oh yeah, there we go.
Okay, I need to figure out. My camera just did the thing it did last week, so I'm trying to figure out how to get it out of this.
So the crazy thing with this is I'm not going to be able to see what my camera is seeing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's understandable. It's a matter of as long as you get it basically centered in the shot. I have the challenge right now of my feed is actually having a problem where I got a view. I guess can I do it? Maybe I can flip mine the other way too. Then
I have a whole apparatus here that I think I can. Let's see here. You can tell me if this is working or not, but it's basically yeah. I have never done an Instagram live like this before. I believe I'm in view here, and I don't think I can change like zoom or anything, right?
you can sort of pinch it a little bit and get a different zoom.
Okay. Well,
It's you're right in the shot. You're perfect right now. Just looking at where your hands are and everything.
yeah,
It seems
perfect.
like it's dead on. So I don't think you even need to change it one bit.
Perfect. And, you can hear me okay?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So
Well, we're going blind a bit here.
yeah.
I can hear you, and that's about it. So you've given me cityscape, complex, and people. So
Yeah,
I
of some sort.
yeah.
So let me ask you some questions as we get going for the night here. That sort of, I mean, obviously the hey, here's the who are you as a person, but because I'm coming from this world of kidlit, the first thing that always pops into my head that I always want to know is a little bit about you as a kid
Oh,
and what that was like. You as an artist, you as someone growing up. What was your experience? What was your interest level? Were you supported as a kid in the art world?
not just in general. Did my
Yeah.
supportive parents who want to go there? My parents were supportive. Yeah, I grew up in a relatively creative family. I think. Like my dad was, I think, a I wouldn't say a stalled artist, but an unfulfilled artist in his career. He ended up having to, have a different career outside of art, but he brought out the papers and the pencils and whatever else paints for us as kids as far back as I can remember, to the point where I don't even believe that other people didn't grow up doing that. Like it doesn't I have no like context for why that wouldn't happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Like it's hard to know what you didn't have or what you did have by comparison to other
right.
family.
That's right. Yeah.
Was did you know early on, like when you were a little kid, did you know that you would end up in this field, or was that something that was more of a later decision in life. You know, like some people I've had on have said, I absolutely knew when I was little that I was going to become a artist. And some people said, you know, I didn't discover it until later. I didn't have permission in my own head to do it
Mm,
until much later in life.
yeah. Uh, Definitely didn't think about art as like a thing you would do as a career. It was never like that was never really part of any conversation. I remember I remember, you know, saying things like I want to be a dentist, I want to be an inventor. I really like, I mean, the closest I came to that was, and this might be kind of a clue to why ended up in design, is like I really like drawing cars. And I thought for a little while that I would want to be like a car designer. And that, I mean, that never went anywhere other than like, huh, that'd be fun. But in terms of being a good student and actually thinking about my future, by the time I was in high school, I didn't. I was pretty directionless, and I actually much preferred music, and wanted to, you know, play in a band, and I think if there's any ambition I had during high school, it was like just without thinking it through very much. I wanted to be in a band and kind of be a rock star. And then to the point where like I actually failed senior art in high school and ended up in computer engineering, and uh, it, like it was, there's so many like, it's a long story, but the short answer is there was no art career uh, on my horizon until I was in college for art, like for engineering, and at that point I realized I made a huge mistake and need to get it into design. So that
When when you were going for design, because I know that you went to, what was it? It uh was it BC? No. What was the school again?
oh,
NC?
Nova Scotia College of Art and Design.
Nova Scotia. That's right. Well, was it a proper design program in the sense of like graphic design, or I guess proper is not the right terminology, but was it a graphic design program, or is it more design that encompassed other things?
It was for whatever reason, it wasn't a purely design, like graphic design focused program. It was called interdisciplinary design, and it ended up like, you know, how would I summarize it? There were communication design classes, typography, but also things like human factors in design and product design. And so we had to take a lot of these different things, which is cool. And to be honest, I don't think I learned much about how to be a designer in any satisfying way while I was in school. Anything that I knew, like in terms of like the technical hands-on skills, because this was a university program at an art school with a rich tradition of conceptual art. Um, there, everything was very, very theoretical, and so I ended up. I had already kind of taught myself all the things like, you know, the technical hands-on stuff. If anything, the things that I took most away from um, my time in school were just like the history side of things, thinking a lot of the liberal arts and sciences classes that we had to take, like history, semiotics was really cool. So it was a very much more about an education in history and kind of almost philosophy in a way that I took away from that. Other than that, my most impressionable experience was in terms of graphic design was my typography classes that I took. There was one with, and this kind of is, I would say, the most important to my career was I ended up getting an internship with a local design studio. One
Yeah.
and one of the people, there were two people that are very, very important to my early influences. One was Kate O'Connor. She was an illustrator designer, and then Ray Fenwick. He was an illustrator, and as far as I know, he was kind of a big deal at the time. He was working for clients like Urban Outfitters, and we're talking about going back like 2007, before I even realized illustration and design were like related, and you could be an illustrator. And so I started really seeing what that actually looked like. Like, oh, Ray designed this pattern, and now I'm in Urban Outfitters, and I see his pattern on a set of pillowcases, and so those are really eye-opening experiences for me, and it was pretty cool to get to work with them in an internship. So
When now, okay, so here's I guess a big question in the sense of um, thinking holistically about your career. The idea that you are like I would sort of just blanket term call you an illustrator, but that's also underneath that design heading. They are compatible with each other. They're connected. How do
yeah.
you define, like, what is the term you use for yourself right now?
Illustrator. Yeah, illustrator. I think it's possible to get a little bit too highfalutin about what to call yourself.
Yeah.
And ultimately I'm plugged into the illustration industry. So if I think it would complicate things if I tried to somehow obfuscate that into some kind of um, artsy speak thing. So yeah, I'm an illustrator. But when I look at like what a lot of illustrators who've gone to programs like Sheridan or RISD or these kind of more like proper, I would say rigorous illustration programs.
Yeah.
I'm not that. Like I'm for various reasons. I think the thing that distinguishes I'm not saying me, I'm not singling myself out here, but an illustrator such as myself, I would be much more of a design oriented illustrator. I'm much more interested in flat graphic illustration.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
stylization, and I love working with print constraints. So thinking in terms of ink colors and separations, those things heavily influence my illustration. I also have a strong, like, I would say less on a, how would I say this? I don't think about self-expression as an artist so much as I
Okay.
think
Yeah.
much as I think about solving problems.
Do you, I mean, that idea of, well, self-expression. Okay, let me ask you this, because this is sort of a different sort of way to ask or to get to the question I'm wondering about is, do
Okay.
you, this is going to be a stupid question. Do you have fun while you're making art?
Sometimes. What about you?
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, I do have fun. During the middle of it, sometimes it's a job. If that made,
Yeah.
like when the product is done, I sit there and go, oh, that was a lot of, like, it was a lot of struggle, but uh, it was worth it because of, whatever came from it.
Hmm.
But I do think that there's, this perception sometimes, especially from a younger audience, that art is going to be all um, love and wonderful times and things of the sort. And in reality, sometimes it's an absolute pain in the butt,
Hmm.
or a struggle in a way that maybe uh, is not always expected off the bat. And that's why I asked that question. Like, is it like, I don't want to say it's always about money, because that's not always what it is for me, at least.
Yeah.
But there's definitely days where it is, I don't want to go in the studio, and there's days where I do. And I don't want people to have this false notion that it's always going to be uh, flowers and roses and puppies and the fun times throughout.
Drops, Easter bunnies,
Yeah. Yeah.
Christmas ornaments, um, licorice, if you like that. I'm just thinking of other nice things to add to the list of
Yeah. Yeah.
the
Apple pie.
apple,
Um,
maple syrup.
I'm trying to think what like the a nice cold beverage on a hot day. It's
A
not
nice,
that.
a
Sometimes
nice
it's a,
age
it's
appropriate beverage on a
yeah.
hot
Yeah, I
day.
was gonna say most of the time it's a hot beverage on a hot day. That's what it turns out to me, where it's a struggle to get through. Um, I mean, at the end of the day, you chose this career. I chose this career.
Yeah.
Would you have it any other way?
Oh, absolutely not. I don't know how to be anything else. So when I say I don't have fun, I just mean that it's a job. Anything
Yeah.
that you do that you get into because you are interested in it for whatever reason, once it becomes a job, it's work because you have to do it in a very regimented, rigorous way, and that means especially if you're not particularly aesthetic, disciplined person, that doesn't always feel great. And so you end up, like many of us, having to play mind games with yourself just to be a responsible adult, make good on deadlines. And I actually like sometimes I don't mean to make light of actual trauma or PTSD, but I do sometimes feel like a sense of um, you know very small, tiny letters PTSD after a big project.
Oh yeah.
Um, can you relate to that?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, just the idea of being worn out. I mean, you've worked at like looking at the book projects you worked on. I was talking to someone the other day about there is a certain point, and generally it's about 20% left in the project. That's where I start to shut down and go, oh, I wish this was over.
Yeah,
And it hits towards the end, and I'm glad it hits towards the end and not at the beginning. But there is a point that always hits where it's you know I think part of it is, and I don't know if this makes sense for you as well, but at the beginning it's fun because I'm figuring things out. At the end, it's already been figured out and it's just following orders.
absolutely. And just kind of technical grunt work where it's
Yes.
like
Yeah.
all the creative like idea and problem solving and even like if you've ever done a book, uh, like I'm in the late stages of doing a 52-page picture book that I've been working on for 3 years, and it's like I love the work in at certain levels, but I'll get up in the morning and say today I'm dedicating entirely to this book because I got to get it done, and then it's 8 p.m. and I've done anything but because there's something about just that there's a this is what I mean by the like tiny little PTSD feeling. It's this feeling of um, I think my subconscious knows how much work it is just to get into that zone,
Yeah.
uh, into that artistic mindset. I don't want to give that a kind of a diagnosable um, reason, but I do sometimes find that a very particular challenge for myself, and I don't think that's unique, and that's the part where it's hard work. And what were we talking about? What was our topic?
Well, just that idea of like, do you love the job? Do you
Yeah,
know that idea of, and I completely understand. Like the working on a project to actually fall in love with it too.
hmm
As much as I want to say that like the beginning is always fun, there's sometimes where it's frustrating because you don't know where you're going. And it seems like you're going in circles, and then eventually something clicks and maybe it gets a little easier. But I think, and this is probably a similar to what you're saying about the PTSD. I know this job is maybe a bit frivolous at times, that I'm not
yeah,
going out in a coal mine, as I've said before. I'm not having a awful experience or risking my life doing this on a regular basis. But at the end of the day, there is some level of it's work and it's challenging, and it's not always going to be rewarding, in the sense that sometimes art gets the impression, or that it's somehow self-fulfilling in all instances. I mean, with with the approach that you're talking about, and especially coming from sort of the design background, and obviously clients are a factor in this, but do you find time to actually work on stuff for yourself that actually gives you more of um, a immediate gratification?
Yes, and you're looking at it right now.
Okay. Okay. The sketching process, the doodle side of things.
Yeah,
Uh,
I mean, did I mention I wrote a book called Drawing is Important?
yeah. Okay. True.
This
True.
book, this book here. I don't
Yeah.
know if
Yeah. You mentioned that.
I can't
Um,
remember I can't remember if I told you guys about this at the beginning at some point,
yeah.
but
Yeah.
uh, I uh, I have fallen in love again with just drawing, um, and I've mostly I mostly do it every day, and I have what I would call a daily drawing practice, and so that is very important to me, and it's very enjoyable, um, and it's because it's it's just like what we're doing right now is what I do when I'm talking to. I feel like I'm just talking to a sibling on the phone right now because like I'll
Yeah.
be, you know what I'm saying? Like we just doodle. Like my entire family, at least me and my sister do that. My younger sister do this. I know. Like we'll just be doodling while we're talking, and we're not like talking about our doodling. It's just when I like I'll speak for myself. When I'm on the phone, I listen by doodling. It's just my fidget. It kind of helps me sort of. I would do this in class too, way back.
Yeah.
And I had some of my instructors would tell us like when you're draw while you're listening. Like I don't need your eyes up here. I know you're listening. So that's very important to me. And so for when things are when on a normal day at a normal period of my life, which isn't right now, I would spend an hour every day from 8 to 9 a.m. Just drawing, and I have some structure to that and what I do and what I'm trying to do and why I do it, but more or less that's what I do and enjoy very much.
The I was in a faculty meeting today, and in those meetings sometimes we have uh, they can be a little long at
Mm,
point, and it's no slight to the people that are running the meeting or anything of the sort. But I looked over at the person next to me who is not an artist. It was someone who was there talking about sort of a creative economy and things of the sort. Um, and their notes were just notes. It was just words on their page, and I was sort of blown away because most of the time when I'm sitting in meetings, I'm sitting next to other artists,
yeah.
and no one, like, it can be just a page that has all this text on it, and all of a sudden there's doodles all around the edge, and there's no standard like uh, dictation of what's being said. It's just a way to like focus while your hand does something. And I remember just looking at this lady's notes, going like, "Oh, she actually wrote words. What is that like?" And I couldn't process it because it's so foreign a concept to me.
Okay.
Um, and so it's in that same boat where it's like, in order for me to listen, in order for me to understand what's going on, I have to um, make something. I have to, it's like a fidget spinner or a fidget thing for kids to play with. The pencil and a paper is my fidget spinner.
Yeah,
Um,
and what I find actually, and you can tell me if you can relate, is that I can look at a drawing I made, any drawing in any sketchbook, and remember very specific things that were happening while I was
oh,
drawing. Whether it's a podcast I was listening to, uh, whether it was um, a conversation I was having. Do you know?
absolutely, absolutely. I can think back to sketches, not necessarily have it even in front of me, but I can think back to a sketch that I did and know exactly where I was sitting in the room, like what kind of weather it was outside.
Totally,
It's got this like history it's like when you it's the same thing as when you hear a song, and you're like, oh man, I remember where I was when I first heard this song. It's
totally.
got that vibe.
Or a smell.
Do with the sketches that you have, and obviously with the practice you have right now where you're sketching on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Is it small sketches, or like have you built up an arsenal of sketches now? Where because obviously you're working in a small sketchbook
Yeah.
currently, but I'm wondering about like if you're doing it on a daily practice, what happens to the sketches? Do you keep them? Do they disappear?
You, if you can look at your camera, I'm flashing just I just grabbed a stash of these ugly books that I draw on,
Yeah.
and
So
so, you know, you know, I think they're just like I usually do like 1 page or 2 pages per session,
okay.
and uh, they end up just in these books on my shelf, and I share them. The outlet that I give them, and if you're thinking about like what happens with them, how do they become part of my record, aside from the document, I I share it on my separate drawing account, and often that's all that happens with it.
Yeah. Okay. I just it's one of those things like I work big, so I always like if I had a daily practice, I don't know where I'd store everything. And so
Okay.
like every piece that I make is generally on illustration board and not
Okay.
so it's got to go somewhere. I right now I'm looking to the right and I have a stack of probably about 200 maybe 250 pieces that are just sitting there that from have been years or how I don't even know how long that goes back, but just storage wise is mind boggling. So when someone says, "Hey, I do it every day," that's my first thought is always like, "Okay, how big of a storage space do you have? How many
Yeah.
flat files do you need?"
Okay. And this is whether you're working professionally or just sketch doodling.
Yeah, yeah. Even doodling, I like to doodle with material versus sketchbook. Like I don't have a sketchbook. I don't think I've
Okay.
had a sketchbook in I'm gonna guess 20 years.
Yeah.
And it's I like raw paper and then like just random pieces of paper, but then it all gets put onto heavy stock of some sort, just because that's the way that I always sort of worked back in the day. Do you have with doing the drawing every day? Is there a method to the madness in the sense of like how you get your like thinking about all the people that are out there listening that have uh, artist block or whatever you want to call it? They struggle to get going.
Yeah.
Um, is there a method that you use to sort of like um, to rev the engine as you're
Hmm.
getting started for the day?
That's a great question. And yeah, I understand the meaning of creative block, and I'm not totally discounting it because it is a real
Yeah.
thing. But I don't really think it's as directly a problem as people let on. And what I mean by that is creativity isn't something that's there like in a tube and you're just trying to squeeze it out. You know, I see creativity much the way that I don't know if you know who Adam Savage is.
I do.
He's on YouTube. He's I I kind of dip into his videos like occasionally, and he recently posted a video that's like it just basically is my exactly how I think about things. And I said I'm giving a lot of setup to what I'm about to say. I'll just say it. Yeah, creativity is problem solving, or the brand of creativity that I understand. And again, that's, here's the guy who went into computer engineering and then design rather than, some kind of program.
Yeah.
And and so the way I see creativity is that like you need these raw skills, you need these individual building blocks in the same way that a writer needs words and understand grammar and perhaps read some literature and understand the shape of different types of literature, like what is a mystery novel, what is a poem, what are the different kinds of poems. I don't know anything about those things, but generally the metaphor is, or the analogy is, learn how to draw, learn how to use Photoshop, whatever the technical skills are. That's just like you're giving yourself the vocabulary, the alphabet, the syntax, and what you do with that's illustration, that's creativity. And so
I mean,
what was the
well,
question
no,
again?
just thinking about the sort of how do you get yourself past the sort of starting point struggle. But I think you've answered it in the way that I absolutely 100% agree with, that the the struggle is the point. The struggle is or the challenge. If it's all easy, then sort of what's the challenge? What's the interest level? And um,
Uh, yeah, I think that the struggle is I think that's I'll yes and that. But what I think I really mean is how would I say this? Sorry, my it is not my best time of day for retaining a thought, but
I,
uh, we're talking about creativity and oh yeah. So for me, it's like, what problem are you trying to solve? If you can define that, then you'll have a lot easier of a time entering into that with your tools, whatever that is, in some activity that looks something like creativity. And so let's just talk about the a daily drawing practice. I think here I'm not going to try and find it, but basically I try to set what I'm doing ahead of time. So I have what I'll call just a daily drawing plan, and I especially would prescribe this to someone who doesn't know how to start drawing more regularly. Uh, at very least, find a reason why you want to draw every day. That's important. But then have a go-to source. Have something that you draw from every day, like a theme or a prompt list, maybe a favorite old catalog or old book, and you want to just draw from a picture in that book every single day. That means you sit down, you know that for half of an hour or 20 minutes or however long you have, you're just going to open that book and start drawing in your sketchbook from that go-to source. Do you know what I'm saying?
yeah,
And
yeah.
that's the done. Like that's the whole problem solved. Anything else there is about motivation or discipline or um, interest or disinterest. And then if I feel like it's not a big leap to just say find something more interesting to you to draw then. But the idea of feeling creatively blocked, that comes more when you can't solve a problem for whatever reason. And that, yeah, I mean, that's where I think I would see, like, I would call this certain instances where I really just don't know how to solve a problem, creative block. In that case, it comes down to framing and reframing that problem until you understand it again and you find your way back in.
That's the. I mean, yeah, it's the same sort of ballpark for me too, in the sense that um, the idea of like getting past that initial starting hurdle, which the hurdle to me is fun. I guess let's put it this way: I want a challenge. It doesn't have to be a big challenge. It doesn't have to be I have to make the most beautiful piece and the world has to stop and bow at my feet for how wonderful a job I did. That's not the goal in
Yeah,
this. But I do like the idea that um, the thing that I am doing is somehow prompted in some way by a very simple concept. And that concept can be just like, I really want to use, I want to make something that has patchwork in it. And that's, like of how it's going to turn into an actual piece of any sort. But just by saying, hey, it'd be fun to do something that has patchwork in it, and then sitting down and trying to figure out different things that patchwork can be part of. And so,
okay.
like, oftentimes when I'm doing any sort of art making, there's always this little tiny goal.
Mm.
And it's never, like I said, it's never complicated. It's never, I must do this, lighting that is bleeding through trees and, dappling the ground with light. If that comes out of it, lovely. But the goal is like, hey, let's do something fun with light for the day.
Yeah.
And that's it. Like, it doesn't have to be complex. And I think part of the challenge that I've seen from students and from folks that run into that problem, and I think this is sort of what you're hitting at, is like they're trying to answer too many things or too big of a problem with before they even know what the problem is, if that makes any sense.
Yeah,
That's a really
absolutely.
complicated way of saying it, but
Yeah, I mean, as a designer, and I think the professional client-driven illustration process works the same way. You have a brief at the beginning, and then a period of like where you're ideating and sketching, and then you come up with a final eventually. And at that beginning part, that brief is where you define the problem that you're like. Why are you drawing? Whatever. Why are you illustrating something? What is it for? Where is it supposed to go? Who's going to look at it? What are the like kind of vibey goals that you can attach to it? So it's almost like I like to think of the brief as like a seed that contains the DNA. Everything you need to get started is in that seed, and once you start the actual creative process, research, sketching, all that kind of stuff, the seed has been planted, and you're doing the work of all those mechanisms that make the seed start to grow. But the actual what are you doing and why, that's in the DNA, and that's how something takes shape.
yeah,
I don't know if I feel like I'm taking that way too seriously as a metaphor, but the idea is like it's like what you're saying. It's all about the beginning, how you begin something, and the most important thing in that beginning is what are you making? Like, I sometimes feel like I sound annoyed when I'm describing this because it feels like I don't know why I would make something unless it had some kind of, aside from like just drawing like this doesn't need a purpose. You gave me like this loose prompt, like
yep,
patchwork, busy city. I'm fine with that. But I can only do this confidently on a camera because I've been doing this for almost 2 decades. But I guess I, where it comes to illustration, it's all about a purpose. And art people who want to make art, just fine art, I think they get mad about that because they feel like that's like capitalistic or somehow earth points. I don't. Do you know what I'm saying? Like I feel
yeah, yeah,
it sort of is against the kind of punk rock ethos of art and making stuff in a more expressive way, in a more pants. What would you say? Like channeling something a little bit more mystical. I'm okay with that, but that's not what illustration is. Illustration is solving problems and making art for a purpose. Illustration is embedded in the market, in industry. Like it doesn't exist. Illustration didn't exist before factories. Like that's what illustration is. So I guess my diatribe here is about um, the importance of remembering, start by defining the problem before anything else. And where it comes to like looser vibey stuff like what we're doing now, like if you're stuck, it's just that you don't need anything. You could just start drawing. It doesn't matter because it's not, no one's hiring you to do it. But if you need a reason to do it, then go and kind of poke around that's a little bit of like a work that I guess is like, what are you doing? Like what do you want to do? And if you don't know that, maybe it's like a little bit of a journey of self-reflection or something.
yeah. Do you? Well, let me ask this in the sense of like in your artistic practice. Obviously, the idea of working on something that is for a client, you do have that brief, and there are parameters that you have to play by. You can't just sit there and say, hey, I'm going to decide that it's going to be this proportion when it has to meet some standard that they need for the printing process or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
But is there some moment within your making process that there is like, it is that you get lost in what you're making and not worry about the brief in some sense? Like the equivalent of, for me, like obviously if I'm working on a kid's book, there I have to tell the story. and I have to meet, like I send off sketches, but there's a level of sketch that I send now that is intentionally, I want to say, a little bit open ended, a little bit vague, with the idea that um, if I close off that loop too much, or if I somehow set the parameters too tight, then I don't have fun in the
Yeah.
process. And I'm wondering, like, in your process, because I understand the thinking of, like, there's a difference between making something for yourself and a difference in making something for a client,
Yeah.
and how you have to play by those rules just to, meet the industry. But is there something in your practice you go like, oh, this is the thing that I do for me?
Hmm.
They don't
Yeah.
even know that I'm doing
That's, I mean, it's kind of a chicken and egg thing, where it's almost like talking about um, having a style where, do you have a style first and draw from that style, or do you just make the work and your style comes from it,
it. Yeah.
either in a single project or kind of over the course of your career? Is that how style works? And I think in a similar way, once you set up the parameters of a project, if you have a craft, that means you have a way of, it's kind of like what I was talking about before, like the building blocks, the ground. Once you have those skills, you yes, that's the freedom is in like the uncertainty of the how you're going to go and now solve the problem. I think that's where my adventure starts. Is like uh, I like to be very clear and certain about what I'm being asked to do, but I like to be kind of it'd be very boring creatively to enter into a project knowing exactly what I'll draw and what uh, proportions and shapes and symbols I'll use right away.
Yeah.
That's might as well just use AI and generate an image. Like that's well,
Well, let me ask this question then, because I think this ties into that. Right
yeah,
now, you're at a point in your career, you're decades in, same with me. I feel like I have a lot of leeway as an artist that now that I potentially didn't assume that I had when I started out. And I'm wondering, like, did you have the same mindset when you started thinking about um, being able to sit there and go, oh, I want to, I want to solve the problem, but I also want to make sure that I'm sort of addressing my own creative interest in this process? Or when you started out, were you much more sort of by the book? This is what they need. This is what I deliver.
hmm. Okay, so you're talking a little bit about like trusting yourself or being trusted with creative freedom, kind of like
Yeah, yeah. Did you give yourself the freedom when you started out? Essentially, is the heart of what the question is.
yeah. I think what do like when you're like asking about creative freedom, do you mean like what like there's so many ways to take that. Like, are you talking about the ideas, the like execution?
I think probably I'm sort of hitting at all of it in the sense of, like, I'm going to use myself as an example. Just when I started out, I really thought, hey, if the client asks me to edit it this way or to do this thing, I'm going to do it, no questions asked. And
Mm,
now at a point where I feel like if someone says we would like to do it this way, I might go, well, I have a different idea.
yeah,
And here's my reason why. Like, I think I have to contextualize it. I can't just go, I don't like your idea. I like my idea better and tough. But I
I
think that I have enough time spent in the industry now that I can sit there and go, you know, I think there's a better solution than what you're asking for.
okay,
And, you know,
yeah,
let me show you how this will work. And that's my job as the illustrator, is to go in there and say, you know, here's what you wanted, here's what you think you needed, but check out how cool it could be if we did it this way instead.
yeah. Uh, I think there might be. I'm gonna attempt to plot this out on my page here, on a separate page. There might be like a kind of like a bell curve of something. I'm gonna see if I can. Huh. But I'm thinking about like early in your career on a like time scale, early in your
Yeah.
career and more in a mature time part of your time scale or your timeline.
Yeah.
Uh, so like it's enough. It's okay. Okay. I'm not really a statistician, and I don't fully understand everything that I'm doing here. But it's something like
Okay.
there's confidence, maybe the scale of confidence going up on the y-axis here. And so early on, you're really confident, but you're not experienced, right? And then later in your career, you gain at some point later you regain confidence, but you're more mature. And so under the early confidence, you're overconfident, but underqualified, right?
Yeah.
And then in the middle, you start learning stuff, and so you get humbled, and you're like, I'm a total fraud. So you have no confidence.
Yeah.
Uh,
Imposter syndrome sets in. Yeah.
exactly. So this is like the fraudulent valley. I don't know what we'll call it. And then later, when you get more mature, you have wisdom and experience, and you're confident not because you think you can or because you're arrogant, but because you've learned all these lessons along the way. And so, um, early on in my career, I would say I'd have that experience where like, and then stuff happens in the middle, and now I at a certain point I learned how to like take someone's direction and have I just know when what part of their advice to take or
Yeah. Okay.
right. I'll use an actual like concrete example from very recent. I was working on a map, and the client suggested all these different points that they wanted included for each location, and I'm very confident just using some of those and sketching those into the layout of the map, and just saying like, we'll use I recommend using this monument because it just is more iconic, and these other parts for this location. But I'm not going to use all these other things because it'll just be too many things going on at the same time. And so I just take them. Oftentimes, when a client's just telling you what to do, it's just they're just. And as at a certain point, you know that like kind of what the overarching direction is that you need to take, in this case the map illustration, but you don't necessarily have to take every single thing they tell you as literally an instruction and a requirement. And if you get it wrong, they'll tell you in their feedback, and
Yeah.
then okay, sure. And so I don't know if I needed to draw that whole belt chart thing, but it was kind of like a, does that make sense? It's like I feel like the creativity is not about being arrogant and thinking I could do better than that. And I know that's not what you're saying, but it's more like you read between the lines of what they're saying. And I think a thing that's lost today, unfortunately, is like a lot of communication happens over email. I think that's
Yeah.
how a lot of it
Yeah.
happens. Well, it does with me.
Yeah. Now it's going to be DMs and things of that sort going forward. But yes,
Yeah,
email,
gee
email
whiz.
for the time being.
When you reach out to me on a DM, I sent you pretty quickly to my email.
Yep. Yep. Did.
And
But
so I
that's
was like,
there's
you're gonna get totally buried in my DMs if we don't get you in my inbox. So anyway, the I used to be like, not that long ago, I would get on a phone call before all this Zoom call stuff that started about 6 years ago. You get on a phone call, and
yep.
you'd talk to someone, and you'd ask questions, and they'd answer them in real time, and you'd you get a chance to clarify things, but you'd also kind of hear between the lines what they're really saying. in a way that doesn't always come through an email. Uh, and so there is that even through email you can pick up subtleties. And I is any of this tracking? Am I
Yeah,
taking it too far?
absolutely tracking here for me. Just,
Yeah,
I mean, the idea of, um, the email exchange, the like. I feel like, and I don't know if this connects with you as well, but the idea of, um, I feel like it's rare now to have a call with a client unless it's a super huge job of some sort. And it's always rewarding and surprising that they take the time to have that conversation. And there is much more sort of a collaboration that happens because of what you're saying, like the back and forth that happens in a conversation versus an email. An email is very sort of, can be misread, can be like every time I get notes or edits on something, my first reaction is like, how dare they? They don't
yeah,
get what I'm doing. And it's not because they are saying something horrible, and it's not because I'm doing something wrong, but it's more so I'm just reading into the text in a way
yeah,
that isn't there. And so that conversation that's over the phone or whatnot is always so rewarding just in general because it's such a different thing nowadays. And it was at one point, the common practice.
yeah.
Um, I mean, even, I don't know, uh, I miss some of the, not necessarily handwritten notes, but I miss some of the like of the things that, I mean, maybe this is just being old now and, getting upset that the world has moved on. But there was something nice about having like that kind of item to hand off to someone and a business card. And now it's all done through email or websites or social media in a way that doesn't have the same reward.
Oh, for sure.
Um,
And everything just is flat. Like there's this, I don't know the exact term, but this, like, everything has been flattened. Our experience of many things have been flattened into the experience of this little phone
yeah.
format. So very important things, super significant events or conversations you've had, making art, taking photos, whatever it is, it's all just kind of in this one little rectangle, and nothing feels different from anything else. And so that's definitely a loss. I would say that's a loss. And I think people are doing stuff about that. Like one thing, just for example, I was on a podcast recently, and I was just expecting on the day of the recording that we'd be on like a Zoom call thing,
Yeah.
and it was just audio only, and it was my favorite interview that I've ever done because I didn't I could do what we're doing now. Like I was doodling, taking notes, and totally not thinking about what I looked like, or what my background looked like or anything like that. I wasn't. There's all these things that happen when you're just listening, and it takes you out of that screen, because I'm suddenly like not on the screen. I'm in my head. I'm somewhere, not like I'm in a conversation that's audio only, and that might sound like one dimensional compared to a more dimensional like Zoom call. But there's so much more. I don't know. Yeah, there's just something. Um, I don't know. Lost again.
Well, I just had for one of my books that's coming out in the fall. They sent out this little survey from the publisher, like, hey, how do you want to promote this thing? What's what are you thinking? What are you comfortable doing for promotion for this, etc. And one of the questions was sort of like, are you okay with interviews? And do you prefer written? Do you prefer in person? Do you prefer all this kind of stuff? And like my immediate reaction is like, I do not want to write an interview.
Hmm.
I do not want to answer questions through text.
Yeah.
Um, and it's so much easier to have a conversation and sort of not just feel the person out and go like, do you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
you can, even over the phone or, in person or on a Zoom, you can sense better what kind of reaction it's getting and adapt in the
Hmm.
moment that a DM or a email doesn't allow for. you can't very quickly back out of what you said to explain it better or whatever it may be. Do you with the books and all the projects that you work on, do you do a lot of interviews or things of the sort related to those projects, or is
Uh,
it more of a sort of uh, for the podcast and things of that sort that you're talking to other folks?
yeah, all the like talky stuff usually happens in the context of podcasty type stuff. But occasionally I'll do, you know, I mean, I do a Zoom, or not a Zoom, Google Meet drawing session with my patrons um, every month. So we do that, but that's not really an interview. No, I don't usually. I know what you're talking about, like when there's like or maybe I know what you're talking about. Like back in the day when blogs were more prevalent, I'd get interview invitations, and it wasn't a podcast. It was like they'd send questions and I'd answer them
Yeah,
um, by
a long
text.
email. Yeah,
Yeah. And I always preferred to have a conversation where I would talk, because you have the conversation, it lasts as long as it lasts, and when you're done, it's over. Whereas with writing, I'll take like so long writing stuff and rewriting and editing myself. So there is something nice about the live format, even in video call, that kind of makes for, I like that better. Uh, but I just love, like, from now on I'm only doing audio interviews for the podcast. And this feels a lot like it because I'm drawing. So
yeah. We don't have to. You can be picking your nose right now, and no one would know. I mean,
oh,
all yeah.
where's my
You're
hand?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Where's yeah? I need to see both hands at all times.
All right.
With so one of the questions I had for you, and this is going to be sort of a question because I, looking at the books that I have here, like the Roman Soldier and the Mummy book, I was
Mm,
flipping through those, and all of a sudden it hit me of you have a, I want to say, a voice or an aesthetic, maybe
mm-hmm.
not a style. Style is such a challenging word, but you have a
Close.
voice or aesthetic that shows up in all of
Yeah.
your work. And then you have something like that that does have historical, um, significance. And so, like, if you are doing something like, Roman soldiers, as I read through this and find out about, like, there was a section that I was reading through here about the surgery and all the different toolkits and all these things, and there's referencing that has to be done there. Um,
Yeah.
and yet your style is relatively like um, icon based graphic. It's not like highly detailed. It's not photorealism that you're trying to achieve
Yeah.
in this. And so I'm wondering about sort of the research process and the level in which you pick when and where to implement, voice versus accuracy in something like that.
Yeah, well, this is working, like those books that you mentioned are both with British Museum, and part of the team working on that is, of course, the publisher. But then in the museum, you have an Egyptologist, or an expert on ancient Rome, and so those people are you. I guess I never met them like face to face. I only ever hear their feedback kind of through an art director, but they send me references. This is what uh, this particular coffin or sarcophagus looked like, or whatever.
Yeah.
Uh, and so they'll give me sort of like, these are the facts, but this is also like, we have an age group for the books, and obviously I'm not. We have photography these days, and all kinds of ways of drawing more realistically. There's a reason someone hired someone like me to make these, and they and I have to assume that, because I'm not going to be doing anything too like literal. And so I guess I guess through a project especially in the early stages, and especially in the early stages of my partnership with this particular publisher, like on my first titles with the British Museum, obviously I'm building their trust, and so they're getting a sense of how I handle fictional or nonfiction content in a very fictional style, so to speak.
Yeah.
And so the I guess the it's sort of like at first there's a little bit of just getting there, but I'm also fairly confident going into the project, as is the publisher, because they already like reach out to me for a specific reason that had more to do with my, I have no problem saying style, and so that's how I enter into it. And so uh, then within that, there's obviously like just the trying to I mean my preference is always to take something as far away from the literal as possible. That's a bit of a game or a constraint that's fun to play with. You know what I mean?
Yeah. How far can you push it before it breaks, kind of?
Yeah. Or like draw this in your style. Like what is your style? What are the constraints? And then that becomes almost like a shape language that you build up whatever the parts are. It's like imagine I'm a Lego sculpture artist and the same book needed to be made and they were going to take photos of the Lego that I made, the Lego sculptures that I made. Um, Soldier out of it, and so, but what's the scale? So what's the resolution of my bricks that I'm working with? The um, like almost anything can be done. Almost any nonfiction type content can be done in a highly stylized way as long as you know what your constraints are, your inputs, um, and I guess I've by the time I'm working on a book like that, I've already proven that that works in other ways. For instance, on editorial illustrations or whatever I have already on my portfolio at that time. I've already proved that I can take on um, content and add whimsy or whatever it is. So
Add you're adding to the equation in all cases, and you're not just again following orders or like you are shining through in those instances.
exactly.
Do you have like thinking of obviously all your clients are lovely people and
Mm-hmm.
none of them are bad of any sort, but are there certain projects that you worked on that you're like, oh, this one really like was the cream of the crop. This was the project that really made me go, oh, I'm having absolute fun and um, aesthetically or production wise or whatever it may be. Was there something like that that sort of hit
Hmm.
in a way better than other projects?
I think it's a subtle thing when I think about the answer to that question. Like it's not like, oh, I just like I would love to work with these people again. It was so fun. Um, I would say the projects I enjoy the most are when I'm in the zone of I'm confident and I know like I'm making my best work in that moment. The client is happy, they're trusting me and letting me do a few things that I think are cool.
Yeah.
And so those are the ones that I like. But honestly, like I don't have this. Um, he's like, not. Maybe these are the kinds of things that I forget, and maybe when I think about them more, I like, oh yeah, that was fun. But I don't have anything that stands out particularly.
Yeah, there's not like well, I guess they're all either great, they're all either bad, or they're all sort of in the middle in some way where like, there's jobs that I worked on, and this is probably, maybe this sounds true to you and a lot of folks that are listening, but there are
Yeah.
jobs that I worked on that were very clearly fun when they started. And, when the project's done, you go, oh, that was a job. And it changes after the fact. And then the next job is fun at the beginning or feels, arduous and then feels really fun at the end. And it's not like it's consistent throughout on every single project. And so I look at the answer I would give in one of those, or in a situation like that, is like, it's everything has its good, everything has its bad, and it's hard. I mean, this is probably a weird way to state this, but um, at the end of the day, I look back at something like high school, and I remember the good and the bad moments. I don't remember the middle moments. I don't remember the stuff where it was just everyday high school.
Yeah,
Oh, that was a fun class, or I remember that was an absolute pain, that test that we had to take. And there's
totally,
not that middle ground.
totally.
Um, and so I feel like illustration sometimes is that way, where it's, you know, I want to say it's all, you know, that it was always perfect or it was always awful, but I know there was a lot of like just days where it was a job, and that's okay.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
is there
I think. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, is there a type of work though in general that you like, because you have such a diverse portfolio? You've worked with, advertising, editorial, children's books, etc. Is
Yeah.
there one sort of you lean on a little heavier, or a concept that shows up in all that work that is sort of consistent for you?
Yeah, the kind of work that I think I feel the most confident making, and I'm usually the most satisfied at the end, are maps. And what I like about maps is that they're a little bit more objective. They're a little bit more of a system. It's more typographic in a way because there's a built-in hierarchy. There's also an objectivity to what you're drawing, like you're illustrating a space, even if you're doing it in a non-realistic, whimsical way. There's only so much freedom you have in terms of if you're doing a map of New Hampshire, like it's gonna be the cities in New Hampshire are going to be where they are, and if there's bodies of water, that's where they go. And I love that. And then I can enter in, and this comes back down to the whole like um, having fun drawing whimsical little people. I think I really enjoy what I enjoy. Change it has changed over the years.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I used to really enjoy just the silliness of what I got to draw, especially when I started drawing what I call odd bodies, and I would draw people just in like this like today doesn't like drawing like that anymore, illustrating in a specific, especially the way I drew noses and like things are super unbridled, I find, compared to how I draw now. Now I'm focused more on uh, a little bit more of refinement, really dialing in my constraints and sticking with them as much as possible. But where it comes to the odd body stage, just for example, like I used to do a series ongoing with GQ France,
Okay.
uh, and I would just draw these people, and it'd be pretty rapid and like silly. And sometimes I'd do something totally random and weird, and they'd be like, great, we love it. And I think that feeling of just like being allowed to goof off, basically, like it's the kind of stuff I would draw for friends in school, just like while the teacher's teaching, and just for like a few laughs. And and so I think those are at that time, that's really, that was what I loved most about illustrating. The problem with that though is now when I look back, I'm not actually that happy with the work itself. Uh, and for whatever reason, we don't need to get into it today. But uh, uh, yeah, I think like I look at it now, I'm like, I think I was letting myself off the hook a little bit. Like it worked for its purpose, and that's what I was being asked to do. But that's not what I want to do. I want to challenge myself in more advanced, rigorous ways now.
Um, I see. My wife wrote a little thing here, probably a while back, but I'm catching on to it here.
Mm,
Talk about that voice versus accuracy thing. She says that it reminds her of a bird book that I did, um, where I had that same thing, where it was sort of like what was being asked of me and what I had to hand in were sort of two different things, and finding that balance. And I think
yeah,
that goes for like basically any um, you know, you you don't 100% know where it's going to go, the beginning of the project, and hopefully by midway or even hopefully by the end of it all, you kind of have a better sense. But it's not always this like roadmap that tells you exactly what it needs to be until you sort of stumble upon it. Speaking of the map things, you must there's students. I say this person's name all the time, and they have no idea who I'm talking about. But Martin Hake,
Yeah, I know him. Yeah, he does a lot of
yeah,
math.
is that how you say it? Hake? Hake?
Uh,
Hake?
to be
Hake?
honest, I've always called him Martin Hack.
Okay, it's
The
yeah,
Dutch
somewhere in the
double
middle.
up letters and don't do anything. They don't capitalize on the double letters. I think that it's like two O's is like still just the O sound to us. But I'm
Yeah,
not entirely sure. Dutch people can weigh in and let me know.
yeah.
But I
He's
say Martin Hack.
he's one of those people where like I have loved his work for so long. Partially, before I even got into collage, I really loved his work, and now
Yeah,
that now that I'm in collage, I appreciate it even more. But he's someone who just like that map making and the idea of like there's a level of accuracy in, and this is sort of what you were talking about, a level of accuracy that you have to hit, but it doesn't have to be accurate. So like if you decide to draw the Eiffel Tower, it's got to be Eiffel Tower esque, but it doesn't have to be, you don't have to have every piece of metal in the exact right spot, but it needs to be close enough that everybody understands it as the Eiffel Tower and it's in the middle of Paris. But it doesn't have to be, you don't have to have every single sidewalk laid out perfectly for people to understand that as the Eiffel Tower. Uh, and so that,
exactly. There's also a sort of like a function. Like, what's the function? Like, if you're some things will require higher fidelity or resolution than others. And that can play out within an illustration. Just for example, like you might have stuff in the foreground that needs to be very high resolution and very detailed,
yeah.
and then stuff in the background can be very um, just abstract. I'm gonna just show. Hopefully, I can find an example here. This is one of my favorite illustrators, Miroslav Sasek, and he does this. This is something that I've definitely taken a influence from. Like, speaking of the Eiffel Tower, right? I don't know if you can see what I'm looking at here,
Oh yeah,
but
yeah, yeah. I
right,
have that
like
here.
he's got the Eiffel Tower down, and if you're going to be a nitpicker, you can go and talk about how the trusses or whatever those things are called aren't. There's not the right number of them or something. But this is a picture of Paris. The buildings are just little random um, kind of pixels almost,
Yep, yep.
and that. And so he's got, and he's represented the city of Paris by showing this significant monument in a way that we understand. This Arc de Triomphe over here, Notre Dame here, and then Sacre Coeur, and I guess the shape of the Seine. But other than that, like if these kind of cornerstone pieces here were there, it was just the abstraction, we wouldn't really know what we're looking at, and that I love the minimalism of that, and
I
that's
don't
maybe a
I don't
good.
know where I stumbled upon his work, but I have like I think 4 or 5 of those books for various locations here. Some of them are like and not antiques, but vintage books, and some of them are sort of new reproductions. Um,
Yeah.
he's one of those people that obviously was of a different time when it was,
Hmm.
but like again that the iconography, if the iconography and the symbolism is solid, um, then it lasts longer than sort of like uh, it's timeless in a way. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Uh, looking at his work, how did you say his last name?
I've been told that it's Shashak, but it's
Oh,
probably like Zajak.
I think
Like,
I had something similar. Like someone said it in a way that I was unexpected ages ago, and I totally forgot how it was said. But
like
so,
I don't think it's like the like shut up sh kind of thing. Like
yeah,
it's like ja like
yeah,
zh. I don't think we have that in English really, except
no,
in the casual, because I never know how to spell the short form of casual whenever that comes up. How do you spell cash? How do you spell that?
Aj, yeah, like see, wait, I would spell it. This is going to be wrong, but Cahz, Kaj. But that's
T-A-A.
not. I'm adding in letters, and it's probably totally off then compared to what it should.
Okay.
To me, that's how it sounds, at least.
C.
Um,
Okay,
C.
yeah, I might spell it like
Oh, it's a J too.
Kazj or something. Like there's no letter
Yeah.
that really does it unless you start adding accents. And I think possibly something like that or like whatever. I'm drawing it on my sketchbook here, but I think the Czech. I think he's Czech. The Czech have figured it out. They just put an S with a little tiny
Oh, the
roof.
little thing on top of
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna have to go pretty soon, but I'm gonna try and just I'm gonna erase all the pencil here and
Oh,
see
okay.
what happens. Sometimes I like not coloring in everything and then erasing the pencil lines and seeing what the negative spaces are, and it's fun.
Yeah. What's left?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sort of looking down as I work here, and once I'm uh, set with that, I will. Or once you're set, let me know, and I will pop my head up, and then we can do a proper send off for you. Um, but this has been, I mean, in general, uh, rewarding, but also I think even more so in the sense that like sometimes I have people come on and it's very, very much a like kid that like, hey, how'd you get an agent? How'd you do this kind of stuff? But this has
Yeah.
been a talk that's been really sort of about like um, philosophy, I guess, is a good way, or at least that's the way my brain is sort of putting it together. And I really appreciate the sort of like the angle that this conversation has taken.
Cool.
Um, so
Same here. I, I
but
I've enjoyed like the um I guess I'm waxing in some way. I don't wanna offend the true philosophers out there, and
yeah,
but yeah, I do get I love to get analytical about this
yeah,
stuff and talk about because this is when I'm figuring this is all the stuff that when I'm trying to figure out all the troubleshoot my work and basically when I'm creatively blocked, trying to figure out what's going on, why can't I do this? I'll write, I'll write about it, and or I'll just have this inner monologue happening with these thoughts that I get to share with you, whether you like it or not. I find them I find them deeply interesting and helpful, and I hope that others do too. And yeah, I feel a little maybe it's the Canadian in me, but I feel very reticent, reluctant to own the to take it too seriously. But I also like I mean this is my jam.
yeah. No, this has been great, and like the thing that I again I really appreciate is um the statement, and this is going to be weird because I think someone ages ago about the thing about like artist block, and there's terms that we throw around that need to be broken down more so because we put this blanket thing on, like even the imposter syndrome. It's more than just, hey, I'm afraid I'm an imposter. There's other things that go into it, and I most of the time when I have these conversations, they go into like a psychological sort of therapy session.
Mm.
you know well, why do you think you do it that way? And I don't know if everybody enjoys it when I go that direction, but um, I think that just having the talk about sort of like uh, the reality of art making, and that sometimes it is just a business, and sometimes the business is more than just um, sort of following orders, but there's still a goal that has to be achieved, and lots of things. There were lots of things that came out of this, but um, so here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna shift back down. My piece is gonna be a while before I get there, but I'm gonna shift the camera
Take a look
around.
at what you're working. What are you drawing? Oh yeah, you're drawing bed bugs.
Yeah, so this is the sketch here that the 2-second sketch
That's
of
awesome.
two bugs, and then there is a bed bug bugging the bed bugs because it's gonna be early morning.
Okay.
I might have like a little window back here or something of the sort where the sun is coming up clearly.
Yeah,
Um, do you have kids?
I have two kids. Yeah.
Yeah, so you know that the pain
I
of
do know it now, 12 and 14, and the pain goes the other way around now. Um,
uh, I have a almost 13-year-old, and I still get woken up at like 6 or 5:30 in the morning.
okay.
Um, yeah, it's school. It's got to get out to school, but it's that that horror of hearing the footsteps coming in when it's a little too early in the day, or a little too late at night. Is sort of the gist of what I'm going for. So let me. I'm going to switch back to my face. Oh wait, how do I do this? Because
I
it's
was
the other way.
before we forget about what your art looks like there. Um, I I'm just gonna do yeah. I'll put my phone here. And, let me see. I was gonna say, what if I was like one of those clients that wanted to really collaborate on the on your sketch and give you ideas? Uh,
Okay, what you got?
and I said, how about there's humans dining on the feet of the bed bugs, like tiny little humans?
I thought about that, like little, uh, even just little stick figures that are real tiny, little things that
Yeah,
are all around the edge. A little grossness, but not so gross.
like humans
Uh,
like with dismembered bed bug feet, and
yeah.
they're on them. But maybe that's too philosophical for.
Well, it's the idea of I could put little spots on them. So I don't know if you've ever had bed bugs. I've never had bed bugs in the house, but I know that you get little, you know, uh, bite marks
Like,
essentially. And so like
we,
there's probably
we
some way to hide there.
occasion because of our pets, and
Oh,
not as bad. It's actually so normal that we're like, oh, there's a flea on me, but every now and then we're like, this is disgusting, and we have to like fumigate. So yeah,
um, let's end the conversation on that bed bug on
yeah,
fleas. Yeah.
perfect.
Um,
My apologies to your previous guest, who also you also had bed bugs with. It was too late by the time I said bed bugs to realize that I just basically read your Instagram page and got that idea there. But thank you very much for having me. That was a lot more. I'm not saying I wasn't looking forward to it, but it was way more enjoyable than I expected it to be. And so that's what I drew, and we'll see if I finish it. I mean, I'm okay with just leaving things unfinished, but I just wanted to give you credit for that. This is your idea, the complex city, and all those little like fleshy, pinky colored dots are the people. I think,
stadium.
but this is
That's
just
do it.
sports. They're playing sports.
Yeah, I was wondering. I was just reading. I was like, "What does that say?" And it says sports arena. That's the way to do it. Is you find a solution, an icon that represents mass people that doesn't require faces and all the things to go with it, and that's the solution. So this has been lovely, and if you end up posting that at some point, just tag me in it, and I'll do the same with this when I get this up for people to see. But this has been lovely, and I thoroughly enjoyed the conversation.
Really, same. All the best with the rest of your art.
All right. Thank you,
Yes,
and
I,
go have a lovely evening.
I'm trying to disconnect here.
Yeah, there should be an X that you hit. I have a feeling that he hit the X, and now it's here. It should go in just a second back to just me. For some reason, I'm gonna give everybody a heads up. For some reason, on my phone, I did it again tonight, where I tried to zoom in or zoom out, and when I did, it magnified the shot. Um, Even right now, it looks like it's a little blurry on the feed. So what I might actually do is stop the feed. Oh no, wait, there I'm back. Let me see what happens on my feed here, see if it changes. Um, but what I may do is stop the feed and do a part two, and see if I can get it back so I can see what's on the camera. And yeah, we're still blurry. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna stop it for now. So that part one will be with Tom. Part two will be with just me. Uh, what, Lauren? Oh, next week, yes. Before I forget, we are gonna have on. Let me get this out here real quick. You would probably know this book for sure. If you don't, something's wrong with you. Juana Martinez Neal, who did Fry Bread, which of course is a uh, crazy award-winning book. that has many accolades, let's put it that way, attached to it. But they're going to be on. I have I Don't Care, and then somewhere here we have Alma and How She Got Her Name. A lovely little book here. We have the paperback version of that one. And so they're going to be on joining us to talk about all of their work and about their career, and that will be on Thursday at 8 p.m. next week. And so join us for that. But for now, although I just showed those and it was really blurry, so hopefully that you'll manage that. But I'm going to stop the feed, and I'm going to do a part 2 because we got blurriness, and then I can see if I can correct the phone a little bit. Otherwise, join us in a matter of seconds. Bye. How's everybody doing? We're on part 2. Part 2, count 'em. 1, that means pee-pee. 2, that means poo-poo. We're on part 2 of the evening of making. So far, this is backwards, but when I show it to you like this, but this is what I'm working on. It's some bedbugs, a prompt that Tom Froese gave me. He had to take off for the night, so now it's just me, lonely old me. You could pop the cork, you could twist the cap. That's a song by Northern State. But it's lonely old me and you all. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put Ask Me Anything in the comments here. Ask me anything. And I will answer questions accordingly for all those that ask questions. Boom. Let me pin that comment. There we go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch my camera. Flippity-doo. Get it down here. And again, sketch-wise, that's the sketch that I'm working with right there. So it's Mama and Papa, bedbug, and then a bedbug bugging the bugs in their bed. And so I'm going to work on that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this down on my stage here so you can see what I'm working on. And then as a reminder, next week we are going to have on, let me get these up here, Juan Martinez Neal, who did these amazing books, things like, oh, make sure that's not wet underneath. No, it's not. Alma and How She Got Her Name, which is super cute. The limited palette in this one is like beautiful with the red sort of being the tie-in and that blue sort of slate blue that shows up in this. Really, really lovely book. Things like I Don't Care. And then, of course, Fry Bread, which I remember this came out. I'm trying to think, what year did this come out? This came out in 2019. And every time I think about this, I think of the idea of fry bread and my wife worked at a nature preserve thing, an Audubon-based thing, and I remember them talking about making, I don't remember if it was technically fry bread, but it was something of that sort. And so every time I see that book cover or see that title, I immediately think of that. So I'm going to keep working here. I'm trying to build and make this into a lovely little piece in the end. And so if there's questions, ask them in the questions or in the comments, and I will try to answer where I can. I'm trying to get some other little patches of color that I might build into this. Sorry, I know it's kind of noisy, but I want to make little legs to the bed, but I need to tone them a little bit more than what they are right now. Like I want to give them a little bit of a darker feel. Let's see. I'm Miss D. I assume that's how it said. Hi, Mark. What do you do? Wait. There's a glare on my screen. Sorry, I'm just trying to get past the glare. Hi, Mark. What do you do in order to enhance creativity? Ooh, that's a tough one. Because the reason why I say that's tough is like, it's, I don't know as I have an immediate answer. Like, here's, the solution is you do A, B, and C, and then it's perfect. I think creativity is one of those things that I am, I feel like I have more, in the bank in myself. Like I don't consider myself and this may be news to some, this may be not to others, but I don't consider myself a very, I I'm not good at the final production. I'm a better thinker and a better idea person. So like ideation, that is my wheelhouse. You get me in front of a class and, sort of give me a prompt and I can go for a while and draw and make ideas and figure that stuff out. But the actual finish is where I think I struggle. And so the idea of like creativity, I've never had this. This is not me trying to brag like, hey, get this. I've never had creativity problems. Of course I have, but I feel like I get out of it easier than I do some other issues, involving art. The thing that there's a couple of solutions that I have found for students, because I have to relay this to students all the time. Like, hey, this is what this is where you're struggling. Here's ways to make it easier. This is how you might improve what you're working on. And one of the things that I suggest people do is to, this can be a loaded term, but to steal, to borrow. Borrow is a better term. Not just like, hey, go do what this other person has done, but borrow elements of other work. So the equivalent of, I assume everybody out there has heard like, oh, if you really love a color palette of some piece of artwork, like why not use it in your work? If you really love a Rothko piece, that doesn't mean that you're going to go paint a bunch of squares and patches of color that way. But maybe you go and say, I'm going to paint a landscape that uses that same palette that was used in the Rothko piece, right? Same thing can be done, though, beyond just color. I think color is the one that I've always heard people sort of reference, like, oh, just, grab a color palette from something. But the thing that I lean on or I tell people about is composition. Or you might do something that is look at the value structure of someone's piece. How much dark, how much light, and look at the proportion they use and then figure out a way to bring that into your own work. And so, like, if I looked at the piece that I have right now that I'm drawing here, I could go and say, there is this arch that goes over like this, right? And there's something here, and there's something here, and there's something here, and then some other little odds and ends. Now, right now, this could be a piece like this where it's bedbugs in a bed, but this could very easily turn into, well, here's some eyes, here's a nose, this is a big mustache that's here, and, mustache that comes down here, and then I have the chin. Here's the mouth underneath, and I give him big ears, and I give him a little cowboy hat. And all of a sudden, I've used that same basic concept of there's a thing here, there's two things here, and there's a big thing here, and I've solved that. I could also flip it upside down and start to look at it and say, oh, what if I do the same thing? I use what I call through lines. So if I do something like this, and I have these two things, there's part of me that looks at it and goes, well, now this feels like it's going to be, I don't know why this is my reference point, but this feels like it's some sort of like Ultron / Transformer face to me. And so all of a sudden it becomes this robot. And I've designed it from something that was already previously made. And so that creativity is not necessarily you have to reinvent the wheel every single time. Sometimes it's just looking at something and getting inspired by it in a way that is unexpected. If I turn this sideways, what does that become this time? And what does that become? And what do those become? And they might become something wildly different. It might be a cat chasing a mouse. It might be an elephant breaking out of the zoo. It could be all sorts of things. But that idea of to get out of the creative struggle, or to get out of the idea that you have to be super creative and come up with new ideas all the time, I think is sort of a false notion. And so instead of saying, how do you get out of creativity? It's more, how can you use creative things that are all around us to spark interest in what you do, if that makes any sense. I'm going to use a hairdryer for 1 second because it's going to take a while for this to dry. I just want to dry this out. Hopefully you can still hear me. I just want to dry this out so I can work with it relatively quickly and get going. I still have to do the bug on the side, but I'll get to it. I just want to be able to do the bed, little bed legs that are down there. And so if I come in here and do something like this, and I go, you'll see what I'm doing with this in a second. So here's a a bed leg that will come down and just like go like this. And I'll trim it so it's smaller, but I just need to get this going. Otherwise it's gonna be very late before I get all this done. What other kind of questions do we have? How else can I help? I don't even know if that helped. I'm gonna assume it did. I assume it was an amazing, amazing, helpful piece of information. But how else can I help others? What kind of questions? What you got for me? What you got? What you got? Yep, there we go. And then let's get one more little bed leg. How do I do this? I'm trying to figure out what section I want to pull from here. So I'm just looking for like, what's the right kind of palette here? It doesn't have to be very long, but how do I get this in here? Okay, nope, there we go. So a little guy like that. Okay, now I'm gonna do a little, how do I do this? That's the easiest way. Okay, I'm gonna use, I guess I can do it this way. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go in here, I'm gonna make, it's a claw-footed bed. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make little claws that are gonna go over little balls that are gonna be underneath that. Keen to dip my toes into using gouache. Any specific brands you recommend? So this is, looks like Chanel Kristen or Channel Kristen, something like that. Depends on if you are using regular gouache or acrylic gouache. And when I say regular gouache, meaning gum Arabic based, akin to watercolor or opaque watercolor, or if you're using acrylic gouache. I would say if you're using regular gouache, the easiest thing is to just get some Winsor Newton. It's probably the easiest to come by brand. It is maybe a little bit, they have your standard colors. Let's put it that way. I do think there are other brands out there that have a more interesting color range, but if you're just trying to dip your toes in and you don't want to dive into the most expensive, palette known to man or known to persons, then that's probably your best bet. There are a couple of brands that I think are maybe a little bit better. Hold on, I'll show you those and then I'll talk to you about acrylic gouache as well. Let me just cut this last little toe. Boop, there we go. So looking at, I have all these different brands over here that I used to paint primarily with just regular gouache. And I have all these ones, so like this is Da Vinci, we got Winsor Newton, we got Lefranc Bourget, something like that. We have, I'm just trying to see I'm just grabbing handfuls to see what's in here. We got Daler-Rowney. We have, M. Graham. And there was one brand that I bought primarily for, let me see if I have it here. I have it all stacked like cool colors, warm colors. There was a brand that I bought. Oh, there's Holbein. And then, let me see if I can grab this other one. What brand was it? I don't remember the name of it off the top of my head. I'm just trying to, was it? It wasn't Da Vinci. Wow, I'm really struggling to find it. I thought I had it. Well, shoot, I don't see it. Maybe it is this Lefranc. You know what? It may be this one, this Lefranc Bourget one. Let me see if I can get down to the last tray that's down at the bottom, because that one has white in it. I used to buy this brand because their white was so cheap. And I buy big tubes of it. Wait until you see this. It's going to surprise you. What brand is it? Oh no, it's Da Vinci. Okay, so look at this. Most gouache comes this size. These little, like, I don't even know how many ounces this is. 15 milliliter, 0.5 fluid ounces. when you get up into these, other brands here, they can get up to, how many, I'm trying to see if I can find where it says how many milliliters this is. Shoot. It's got to say on here somewhere. I don't know. This thing is 490 L. That can't be liters. I don't know what that is, but look at the size difference. And it was, for white, this was about the same cost. Now, they do not have as many color choices in this Da Vinci brand. But for just pure stock, it's still good in there. It hasn't dried up. Holbein has great colors. Winsor Newton is a good, stable brand that's everywhere. M. Graham is a really smooth brand. So like if you like a really smooth, flowy paint, M. Graham's really good. And so like there's all these different colors that make sense there that you can sort of get and play with for regular old stinky gouache. The downside to that gouache, of course, is when you get water on it, it bleeds. The pigment can come back up. With the acrylic gouache, that doesn't happen. And the brand that I recommend just for the most part, because it's, I think they have great color options, is the Holbein's acrylic gouache. This is Holbein as well, but their acrylic gouache version. And you can get small tubes like this, or you can get big tubes. So it's either a 20 milliliter or a 40 milliliter, or 0.68 fluid ounces or a 1.35. So basically double in size. And they just have really great colors across the board. The other one that I have in stock here that I use is Liquitex makes an acrylic gouache, and it's cheaper for the amount that you get. But they just don't have as exciting of colors to go with. But again, acrylic gouache, you get some water on it, it's not going to bleed all over the place. It's going to have a fairly consistent, waterproof. It's not perfectly waterproof, but it's a lot more waterproof than what you're going to get out of what you would get with a regular gouache or a gum arabic based gouache, if that makes any sense. Hopefully that was helpful. But I think the thing is, get something cheap to start, just to get your toes, dip your toes in the water, and then after that come back and go, okay, now that I know that I like gouache, then start investing in some of the nicer brands, or giving yourself the option. And if it means having to order, it means having to order versus like just getting stuff in an art store. Okay. So next one was Sheena Mary, who says, when you're at the storyboard stage of a picture book, do you make a mini dummy book to test out the page turns, etc.? If so, how do you make the dummy? Good question. Let me see if I have, I'm just going to use this scrap of paper from the sketchbook. So honestly, I do most of my dummy books digitally, but I have students do it sometimes traditionally. And the easiest way to do it, and this is going to sound really dumb, is you take a piece of paper, you cut it in half. You take it again, and you cut it in half. I'm just making smaller sizes. And I work at a small scale with something like this, just so you don't have a huge ton of paper to go through. But literally mocking this thing up, fold it in half, and to make sure you have an understanding of what pages you are. Page 1, page 2, page 3, and staple it in the center. That's all you gotta do. Just, find, so you have 32 page book, right? In a book, this is what's called the paste down. Page 1. This is where you literally go and stick glue, blah, 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 and stick it to the inside of the hardcover. And so you never see page 1. The end papers are page 2 and 3. 4 and 5 are your title and copyright. This is the standard for a self-ended layout. And then you get into the story. And on the back half, your last one on the back side is also a paste down. It's where you put glue. Stick it to the back side. So blah, 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 stick it down, you never see it. 31 is your end paper. 30 is end paper. your last page of your story is 29. And so you just make a little mock-up like this. And then when you're there, that's where you start to go and say, okay, well, if this is 4 or 5, I put in copyright. And then 5, and I put in title. And I sort of map out, okay, well, this is what I'm thinking would be on this page. And the reason why I do it this way are just, it doesn't have to be a beautiful sketch. It can be just stick figures or something of the sort, so you can understand the flow of, okay, that one's going to be this is going to be a couple of little vignettes, and then this one's going to be a nice big spread, and here's that horizon line and the pathway that goes over, and a lovely tree up here in the corner. But then it allows you to actually just flip through the thing in the end. I have done enough book work now that I feel confident that I sort of have an understanding of it without having to physically make this copy. But if you're trying to get into the practice of making books, it is good to probably have some sort of mock-up like this that you can sort of look at and understand the pages, especially if I go through, and let's say, in this case, I'm just going to number this in a way that sort of works for this, but let's say 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. There's a reason why I'm doing this. It'll make sense in a second. 13. Your odds are always on the right. 14, 15. In this case, I'm doing a half version, so this is 16 pages. But you'll notice that page 1 and 16 are next to each other, and 2 and 15. And so there's this weird, when they print the book, they're not going to print 2 next to 3. They're going to print 2 next to whatever that page is. In this case, because it's 16 pages, 15. And so making a full 32 pages, page number 1 is going to be connected to page 32. And page number 2 is going to be connected to page 31. And et cetera down the line until you get to the middle of the book, which should be 16 and 17. But make a little mock-up like that. Lay out just your basic little thumbnail on it, just so you can sort of flip through it and go this is how this works. I have a spread here. It makes sense to maybe not do a spread with the horizon line in the same spot on this one. Maybe I want to do another big spread here, but then after it, it'd be nice to do a montage, etc. And so you can get a sense of the flow just by making a tiny little physical book copy. Hopefully that makes sense, that sort of setup. But let me see what else people have written here. Yes, that is a big boy, white tube. Had no idea acrylic wash even existed so consider me well informed. So the acrylic wash I prefer it partially because when I go put water on it, it just doesn't come up as fast. You'd have to really scrub it to get it to sort of pop up. And so I like the idea that when I put it down, it's sort of set. I do think that if you really want to have paint that moves around, if you want to paint on the surface of your piece, then it probably makes sense to use regular gouache. If you want to be able to cover mistakes, acrylic gouache. If there's reasons for all of those things. Some people don't like acrylic gouache because it or gouache in general, just because it dries different color than what it starts out as, i.e. All gouache, whether it be acrylic or acrylic gouache, sorry for the repeat of the terms, essentially dries darker or lighter from the color that it is. So generally the lighter colors dry a little darker and the darker colors dry a little lighter. That's been my sort of observation. I don't know if it's true with every brand, with every color, etc. But it means that when it's a wet pigment, that it looks different than what it does when it's dry. And so that's where some people really struggle with gouache compared to some of the other paints. The acrylic gouache I like, again, as well, more so than acrylic even at this point. And the reason why is it stays relatively matte. Unless you paint really thick with it, it stays relatively matte, which means that you can come back and actually do pencil work on top of it, and it's not a fight to get the pencil to stick, whereas it would be if you had to do it on a really plasticky acrylic sometimes. And so to me, just that advantage of being able to draw back on top of it a little bit is a nice little add-on, nice little touch that makes it more advantageous than just regular acrylic. I do have regular acrylic that I use in my practice. The one thing that I do with paint that sort of is counter to saying, hey, I use all acrylic wash is I do use just plain old white and black acrylic in all the work. And partially that is just because it's cheaper and I don't use a ton of it compared to things, so it doesn't really end up being too plasticky. I don't know if I like, to be honest, I don't know if I like the darker feet underneath this. Maybe, are the feet crazy in general? Maybe I just paint them in so they're a little goofier looking than what this is. It just feels very like a wheel, and I don't want it to feel like a wheel. And so maybe it needs to be a different color. So maybe I'm going to paint that all together. What other questions do we have here? Again, I'm here to answer questions, to help you all, to raise you into the world of art making, to make you better people. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to try to block these in a way that's, again, a little funky, a little variation in color. Let's see, that one goes there, this one somewhere in this range. Oh, I need to say a quote for the title for this section. Ready, Lauren? Yeah. Let's see. What's a good one? Hold on. I thought I was ready, and then I'm not ready. How about? Well, I know what I can. My students called me an unk, and which I think is UNC, and they tried to say that it means uncle. Like, they said what I said sounded like something like a old uncle would say. But then someone in the classroom also said, unk can mean uncool. And so they try to, so whoever said it originally, no, I meant it like uncle, which I don't know if that's actually true or not, or whether they're trying to cover their tracks after they, call your teacher uncool and then real quickly try to back out of it. But they called me unk is your title for this section. I hope you enjoy it. I can tell you it was a student named Lily, and everybody laughed when they said it, so clearly it had some impact. But I don't know whether it was an insult or not. My hope is that it was a lovely compliment, and they're saying, oh, I remind them of their uncle, but I have a feeling that's not what it meant because of all the giggles in the classroom. So, if you know what unk means, drop it in the comments and let me know what I'm actually being called in the middle of my class, because grading has not happened yet for the semester, and I still have an opportunity. What? Oh yeah, look it up on Urban Dictionary. Because, I can grade the student and say, hey, you called me an unk, and that's not, if they call me a hunk, like, cool, that's A-okay, I'm fine with that, but I did not get the impression that's what they were saying. I got the impression that it was, hey, you're an old man and you're uncool. These are it's not very dark. Let's get that a little. I don't even know if beds can have clawfoot things, but this one does. The report is almost in, everybody. Hold tight. Uh-oh! You're saying they called me not cool? Someone's gonna fail for the semester, and their name is Lily. I think that they were saying I was very I don't even know what I was saying at the time when they said that, but clearly it was something cool that they just didn't get. They don't understand that I was dropping wisdom on them, and instead that I was a real Nimrod. There's a term. A real, I'm trying to think of another term like that would be appropriate. Nope, not in this case.
A lot of them are also saying that you're creepy.
Uh-oh. So, my wife, I don't know if people know this. I don't know if you can hear what she's saying, but she said also on stuff, a lot of it says someone's being a creep. Like a creepy uncle, I assume is what they're referencing. So not only did they call me uncool, but they also said that I was a creep. And so now, the question becomes, did Lily pass the class, or did Lily fail? I know I will bring it up in class with them in the coming days to see how they react to the fact that I found out that they called me a unkind term. Oh yeah, that's a different spelling though, Lauren. She said, speaking of unkind, that's also an unk. But what? They didn't spell it? No, they said it. So I don't really. So you think they were saying that I was unkind?
No, I'm just like, speaking of
You're saying that I'm your personal hunk? Is that what you said? That's what she said, everybody. I think with what I just said made me an uncool
Here's one that says,
creep.
meaning you're old.
Yeah, one out of two says it means you're old.
No, as unk instead of uncle.
Oh, okay.
It's short for uncle, meaning you're old.
I don't know. Okay, so here's so Sheena Mary says,
Yeah, that's what all these are saying.
thank you. Regarding dummy books, I did my minis the same way and got muddled with opposite images. Oh. I intended on scanning all 32 pages to be able to make more detailed stuff, cut them out, etc., to make more minis. It all became complicated. I mean, here's the rules that I play by, and this might solve some of what your concern is your book. The way that I look at it is every book, you have 32 pages, right? So here's blah, 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 blah. We go through this and we make a bunch of pages. Hopefully this is on screen. I think it is. But if I make a bunch of pages like this, if I have a spread that goes across the entirety of this one, I probably don't want to do a spread on the next one. So let's say it's a vignette, and then this one's a full page. Well, maybe I want to do a full page here, and then this one is a montage, right? So mixing it up. And then this one's maybe a full spread. The idea is every time that I flip this right-hand page on all these, I don't know exactly what's going to be on the following page. I don't know whether it's going to be a full page. I don't know if it's going to be a spread. I don't know if it's going to be, whatever it may be. But that idea of mixing it up so there's a little bit of a surprise factor for your audience, that they don't know exactly what they're getting until they literally flip that page. Flip that page. And so I think whatever you choose to do, don't just get into a rhythm of everything needs to be a spread, everything needs to be, the same thing from one page to the next. Add some variety for the sake of the surprise factor, the interest level, maintaining some sort of aspect that your audience looks at it and goes, oh, that's interesting. I wasn't expecting it to go that way. So then they get excited and they go, I wonder what's going to happen on the next page turn. And so there's this this constant reward essentially that happens. And so to me, that's the goal, is to get something that has that sort of, that surprise, that desire in your audience to flip the page, which essentially is the goal. You want them to continue through the book and not get bored and stop, or, put the book down. And so anything you can do to add to that becomes important. So I don't know if there's like a steadfast rule in the sense of, oh, you must do this many spreads and this many that's and this many those and this many of these and this many of that. And instead just look at it as like, okay, what can you do to create interest in flipping the page? And then it becomes how to best use the options that are in front of you. I don't use a montage all that often. But I also, the idea of using a spread all the time, I think is also, in my mind, problematic. Because it yes, is exciting. A spread should be something that has some, impact. But my thought in it is generally, if you're going to have impact on a page, like if you want to have a spread and you want someone to flip to that page and be like, wow, this is exciting. I wasn't expecting this, which is lovely. If you do it every single time, then there's no impact, there's no excitement. And in order to make something exciting, you need something that's not necessarily dull, but something that's not as exciting around it. Something that's light only reads light because the things around it are dark, right? And so same thing with building something like the pagination. You want to make sure that you are adding variety in to make sure, and variety and opposite around sort of what you're doing to make sure that people understand.
Except if it's a board book, right?
Well, yeah, except if it's a board book. My wife just yelled that down, which is true. If you have a board book, there are rules you need to play by in the sense of the age. Little kids don't need to be surprised from page to page to page, like little babies and things of the sort. It's fun if they are, but it's not necessary. But, give the age range that you're... Yeah. Oh, my wife's saying they wouldn't understand. Yes, at that point, it's about... Board books work differently in the sense that they're there to sort of teach a concept in a way. So it's, instead of going, hey, here's this narrative look at how exciting it is on this page and how exciting it is on the next. Sometimes that board book is literally just there to go, hey, you know that thing called pink? Well, let's make sure that you understand what is pink and what isn't pink. And so sometimes that doesn't need to be this big complex structure that surprises your audience from page to page. But as they get older, you can get into more narrative concepts and play with the surprise factor. One of the things I told my students the other day, or one of the students at least, was you don't want to put something that is impactful and a surprise on the right-hand page. And the reason for that is you don't want to reveal the surprise when a person flips the book open. I don't want to say, hey, who murdered the person, and then here's your murderer on the right page, because I've already flipped it open and seen who it is. I want that murderer to actually be revealed on the left-hand page. So when I flip it, I go, oh, there's the murderer. I don't know why we're talking about murderers in Kidlit, but,
who brought, or what did they bring for the birthday present for this party? I don't want to have that on a right-hand page. I want that to be a left-hand page, so when I flip the page, I get to see what the present is, et cetera, down the line. So Sheena Mary, is this recorded for me to look back on in the morning? Yes. Yes, if you're in the UK, it's 3:22. What are you doing up so late? Yes, this is recorded. It goes up on my Instagram page, so you can see them there, and you can scroll through them, but also I upload them at a later point to YouTube. And so you should be able to see all of these at some point in the future without issue. I'm not always great at uploading them immediately after to YouTube, but it will go up in the, hopefully in the next week. Sometimes I do a bunch of them at one time, so know that may be the case. Just trying to get these legs underneath this kiddo here. What other questions can I answer for people? What other questions? What other things can I do for you? That's the theme song, Lauren, for the Q&A here. What other things can I do for people? What other things can I do for you? If you don't want help, that's okay, but you're gonna have to put up with these songs for the rest of the night if you don't do something about it. Trying to figure out where to put this other hand. Maybe I'll do this. I will. Let's come this way. More music? You want more songs? What should the songs be about, Lauren? What should the songs be about? Bedbugs? Bedbugs, bedbugs, stinky, inky bedbugs.
That's just fish heads.
Fish heads, bug hugs, eat them up, yum. Is that what you meant? How about, it was a one-eyed, one-horned bedbug. Oh no, wait, that's too close too. Let's see, what's a good, If I had a bed bug, I'd use it in the morning. I'd use it in the afternoon, something. Shoot. What should it be? What's the song? Bed bugs. How about, I need a tiny hug from a little bed bug, but please don't bite my bum. See? When some people ask, they're like, Hey Mark, I got a question for you. How are you so good at stuff? And it's like, well, sometimes I just sit down and I think up stuff like that, and it's not even a struggle. Like, I know it sounds like that was really thought out, and people would be surprised that I just sort of wing that. But that's how it works sometimes. Sometimes it doesn't take a lot of effort. These are I'm not sure what bed bugs look like. But these are my bed bugs. They have two little nostrils on their noses. I don't know if they have noses. They're going to have antennas and stuff like that. But Again, I don't know what bedbugs look like, so deal with it, suckers. What other questions do we have tonight? How else can I help? If you don't have questions, then something's wrong. And I get angry. And I get angry. And I start to punch things. And then it will be your fault. Ooh, you know what, everybody? If you're watching, there's a show that my wife and I watched that we watched season 1. Season 1 was really good. I think season 2 was even better. It is called oh, wait, hold on a second. Ooh. Suits. I don't know if you've ever seen the show Suits about the lawyers. I'm just kidding. It's not that. Have you ever heard of King of Queens? No, it was called Living Single. No, the show that we liked is a show called Deadlock. It's Deadloch. It's out of the great state of Australia. And it is very, very funny. It is very, very... It's fast-paced. I will tell you that much. It's very, very fast-paced. So if you are looking for something where, like, there's a lot of wit and humor and whatnot, boy, is it a good one. Just the characters themselves are really fun. And I don't know why I got real serious. I started out being like, hey, look at how witty and crazy this is. And now I'm like, man, it's fun. But I highly suggest that you watch it. It's a murder mystery. Each season is a different thing, so but the same characters. But if you get a chance and you like a good murder mystery, season 1 is good. Good. Season 1 is good. Season 1 was real good. I like it a lot. But season 2, I think, was even better and weirder, and the characters were even more compelling in their insanity and whatnot. And so, look it up, people. I don't know what the actresses on it, what their names are, so it is. It's up to you to find that out. It's not up to me. I got nothing to do with it.
I thought you were gonna say Company Retreat.
Oh, we also watched Company Retreat, but I mean, if I had to choose between the two,
Oh yeah.
I think Deadlock wins.
Yeah.
See, even she said, oh yeah. Even my wife said, oh yeah. She said it like the Kool-Aid Man. I don't know if you all could hear that out there, but she ran into the room and said, oh yeah. And then knocked down a bunch of stuff in my studio and then ran out. And I was like, rude. What? I mean, yeah, you did, but it was just dry pouches that were already open and you threw them at me, so there's powder all over the place around here. So that's not okay, Lauren. You have to rectify that. Do you know the word rectify sounds like rectum? There's your quote for the second. Yeah. Rectify sounds like rectum. Did anybody? You know what I still haven't seen? Artemis 2 or whatever that is. Artemis 2 Boogaloo Flu. I have not seen the footage of them going around the dark side of the moon, but that's cool. What? It was dark? Well, I knew that. See, okay, now you all, she just said it was dark. So now you all get what I have to put up with on a daily basis, you know what I mean? Like, she could have just been like, oh, it was neat, but instead she tried to make me look like an idiot by saying it was dark, like I didn't know that already. And now who's the idiot now? You can't hear her trying to fight back, so it's just me saying she's an idiot, and that's it. Matthew Burks. Is Company Retreat the sequel to Jury Duty? Yes, it is. Man, why is there such a glare? The Earth set was pretty... Sorry, there's like... Is it just the angle or something? I'm getting like the worst glare on my feed here. Let me see if I can turn it so I can read it a little better. I was in a meeting today, and I had to ask them to try to make the text on the screen bigger because I had trouble reading it. That means... Yeah, yeah. My wife just yelled down, "Unk." I felt very, very old. And then I said to them all, "I'm a creep," and then ran out of the room. What's 'cause I'm an unk. I'm a weirdo. Don't tell my parole officer I'm here. I'm a uncle. Uncle. That's the song. Hey everybody, you know what's cool? I get to go into school on Saturday. I know. One of my students asked me today, "Are you excited about this open house thing on Saturday at school?" And I just laughed and laughed because you know what's a lot of fun? Giving up your Saturday. Now, if the like prospective students were in front of me right now, I'd be like, oh, it's so fun here. Oh, it's so lovely. But I also would not be able to hide the fact that I'm going to be overly tired and I'd rather be at home in bed asleep. But I don't have a choice because if they don't choose my school, well, then I don't choose their school. And guess what? Then I'm out of a job. So I want them to show up. I'll be there, smiling, happy as can be, happy as a clam, because everybody knows clams are happy. I mean, name me one clam that isn't happy, Lauren. You can't do it. You can't do it. What? Clem the clam? What about, that's almost like saying flim flam. How about, I'm trying to think if there is a like, there's like a thing like a razor clam. And I'm like, is there one that's like a grumpy clam? They're like the seven dwarves. There's grumpy clam. There's angry clam. There's old nerdy clam. There's, yeah, he wears glasses. That's how you can tell. What could be a thing? Well, Lori Keller has a book about a clam, so I can't really do that. Have you read that book, Lauren? Well, it's good. So how do you top that? Yeah. Correct. Or a clam squad. It's like a glam squad.
That feels like a one-off joke, like a one joke in a book about like a mermaid or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So anyways, how's everybody doing? I need folks to throw me questions. Who's watching right now? Says there's people watching. Throw me a question. Anything. Any question. What's the meaning of life? I'll tell you. I know. I know. You know how I know? Because I'm a professor, and professors know things. Is it weird that I'm a professor, Lauren? Does it make you feel small and insignificant because I walk around with elbow patches on even when I'm wearing t-shirts? Just like faux elbow patches? Where it's just like a thing you stick to your elbow so you look smart? I'm not saying it's a good idea, but I mean, it's a good idea. I still think my idea of, and I know they make them, but like someone's got to market it better. The idea of sew-in pocket extenders for ladies' pants. So, can I get an amen, ladies? Yeah, there you go. That, oh man, there's always not enough pocket there, so stuff is hanging out of ladies' pants. That sounds weird. I didn't mean it that way, everybody. I'm not an or an uncle. But that idea of like little sewing, you can cut a hole in the bottom of your pocket. Here, let's draw it out. This is what it is. Ready? If you have a pocket like this is the inside of your pocket, right? It is another pocket that you just sew on to it here, and then you cut. Let's do this one. You cut away this line, and then your pocket is nice and big. That's the whole thing. And then when you put something like your phone in your pocket, it goes all the way in instead of like hanging out like this because the pocket's half-inch deep. I'll accept my Nobel Prize now. Thank you, everybody. I will accept it without question. I need people to nominate me, I think, in this situation. I don't think there's a pocket Nobel Prize, a Nobel Prize for pocket inventions. But if there was, you know who to give it to. Little old me. I feel like it's gotten really quiet now. Too quiet, if you ask me. A little too quiet. Here's my It's morning, mama. Like that. That's what this bedbug is saying. Let's give some little antennas here. Zip. Little nub at the end. That's how those work. Everybody knows it. No one's asking questions. Let's get some questions, people. You're not allowed to sit in silence. If you do, there's something wrong with you. Toodaloo. Tootaloo. Is that what it was, Lauren? Toodaloo? No. Tootaloo. That was my son's make-believe friend that was an ant. Because that's a thing. His baby. Yeah, what was the baby's name? What? Oh, Shashi. There was a little human baby that... Shashi Sauce? Okay, so everybody, my son has some, some issues. He had a little human baby that was the size of what, like a
I don't know. You could fit in your hand.
yeah, he could fit in your hand. His name was Shashi Sauce Hoffman. And so there was that. So, that's how you know we raised him right. Did people out there have imaginary friends? I never did. That I know of. I mean, maybe I did. My parents never told me. But
I did.
my wife did. Who is your imaginary friend?
But it was just Robin.
It was just Robin from Batman and Robin?
Yeah.
My wife had no imagination, everybody.
But I had enough to have an imaginary friend at least.
I didn't need to have imaginary friends. I had real friends, Lauren.
Whatever.
I had so many friends, I didn't even know what to do with them all, This guy has socks on. You're welcome for that. For that little tidbit. This guy has socks on. I'm going to put a little... white, what do you call that? What do you call that in the window? The little bars in the window. It's not prison, not that kind of bar, but there's the little crossbar things. There's a term for that. It's out there somewhere. What? No, that's old. What? Am I not seeing? Did it? Oh, my feed stopped on the iPad. That's why I'm not getting anything. Aha.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of questions.
Oh, it's not showing up. You're gonna have to ask them to me because it's.
Okay. Here we go.
Yeah, ask me the questions. I'll answer them. Sorry, everybody. I couldn't see, so I just assumed no one was paying attention.
Okay.
She's gonna ask them from upstairs, and then I'll answer them down here. So, bear with it.
When does your next book come out?
Who asked that, Lauren?
Teacher Marin asks.
Teacher Marin asks, when does my next book come out? Well, that's a great question. If you go back and look at the post that we posted today, it tells you. But I'll tell you anyways, even though I'm disappointed in you for not looking at the post I put. It comes out September 1st, and it's called Boogie and Tea and Twinkle and Hue. And it's from Groundwood Books. And it's the first collage book they ever got to work on, which is fun. And it is I forget how many pages. It's not a 32-page picture book. It's longer than that. It's a 40-page maybe a 48, something like that. But it's nice and I like it. And I just got the what do I want to say, the author copy. There we go. My wife came in for the save there. An author copy the other day. They'll send me all the rest of them later when they come out, but I got one for my own perusal. And if anybody here, and I don't know if anybody is, but if anybody is going to ALA this summer in Chicago, I will be there signing copies of it, and we're probably going to do a giveaway even. Get a load of this. We're probably going to do a little giveaway of either an original from the book.
A boat?
What?
Or a boat?
Or a boat? No, not a boat. Either an original from the book, or I may make a brand new original, a one of a kind. I'm not sure which one we're going to go with, but something of that sort there. So if you're at ALA, you can enter the raffle to win one. It may be a print, but I'm thinking it's going to be an original, which would be fun. So there's that. There's a reason why you want to go to ALA. And this is something that's a weird little thing that I just don't know. I don't think anybody off the street can walk into ALA. I think you have to be associated with publishing in some way, like be invited by a publisher or things of the sort. The way I said that, like, I don't think anybody off the street sounds like, what was that, Nate Dogg and Can Handle the Steel or whatever that one was. Handy with the steel. Regulators, mount up. It was a cold, dark something. That's all I got, everybody. I'm going to give this guy some socks, too, over here.
Happy birthday, there's a Beetle Moses comic about bedbugs. And he always finds things. One of his favorites.
What was it? A comic about bedbugs?
Beetle Moses.
Beetle Moses. Well, now I know he's just making stuff up, because that doesn't sound real.
Happy birthday, imaginary kangaroo.
Imaginary kangaroo, again, making stuff up. I don't like this making stuff up business. Can't just waltz into my neck of the woods and start flinging around things like make-believe kangaroos and expect us to fall for it. Teacher Marin had an imaginary brother, and that she kept a photo. Now, that's a real uncle move right there, if you ask me. You're not allowed to keep photos of random people and call them your brother. Were you like, it's a brother from another mother? That's how you know I know my stuff. Because I said that. What?
Is the feed going now?
Yeah, it's going now. So let me see. So I just got one that says, I think tickets to attend ALA are fairly pricey, $300 or $500, something like that. That's conference pricing for you. Yeah. That's called, I will tell you the secret of why I'm going. And this will make sense, especially if that's the price. The publisher's sending me. Otherwise, I would not be spending that money. They pay my airfare and my hotel, then yeah, I'll show up. You don't? Guess what? I'm staying home. And I'm doing home stuff. I don't know what that means. But I'd be staying home doing home stuff. Ooh, 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 ooh. All right, let's get some line work on this bed. It's a question of what color do I want to do it. Do I want to do orange is kind of fun, actually. What I'll do is I'll put shadows underneath the kid trying to get up in the bed. And then I might come up in here and go like this too. Boop, 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 boop. grab my eraser like this. I erase out some of those little smudgy wudgies there. And get some orange up on those. Ooh, girl. Watch this. I'm going to put a little shadow underneath that nose, so that nose sticks out a little better. Now, why did I make a piece about bed bugs? Well, let me lay it on thick for you. So, earlier tonight, I had on Tom Froese, and he said bed bugs. That was my theme. And this is what I did. How about this? I'll give everybody that's listening a secret inside track into what I make next week. You can help me decide what's the illustration I do next week. In just a second, I'm going to put a little, tiny little bit of color down to be like shadows underneath these feet on the bed here. There we go. Get a little bit more here. And these can have some little like that. Okay, so here's the sketches that I had for tonight. And the first one to chime in gets to pick which one I do next week. Do I do this rabbit who's DJing, and he's got like an Adidas tracksuit, and he's got a turntable, and these are rabbits down here at the bottom? Do I do a little girl who's helping her father fix a car, and there's a dog watching that's in there, and so there's like, you know, he's reaching up to the engine trying to get that. I don't want him to look dead, so I gotta be careful on that one. Or do I do a little kid who's trying to stack dominoes, and a dog is tipping over one of the dominoes and is gonna set them all off? First one to decide, do you want, let's start from the beginning. Do you want DJ Rabbit? Do you want Auto Mechanic Girl? Or do you want Domino Boy? You can pick which one I do. DJ Rabbit, Auto Mechanic Girl, Domino Boy. Who's gonna answer? DJ Rabbit, Teacher Marin wins. DJ Rabbit, I'm gonna do DJ Rabbit next week. So guess what, everybody? You can tune in, and you'll get to see me turn this little sketch right here of a DJ Rabbit into a full illustration. Uh-oh. Lan Chan coming in late. Matthew Berg coming in with DJ Rabbit. I think DJ Rabbit wins just based on numbers even. But I'm going to do them all at some point. I'll give you that. They will all get done. It's a matter of, it may be at a later point. Ooh, I'm going to give this guy a little bum. Ha ha. Little bum crack on him. Bed bugs, bed bugs. I wish I had like a darker yellow that I could use. Because I was going to make a plaid bedspread. But all I got is like, yeah, let's see, what are these? Well, that's not yellow, that's yellow. But that's not any darker. That won't work. Well, I mean, I could use something that's like a pink. Where'd that one go? There it is. So you use like this kind of pink and run across, so it should show up. I don't want it to be too dramatic. So that might work. I'll probably use this one. I don't want it to be too dramatic of a color that overpowers the texture that's already there. So let me do this. Let's see, how does this work? So I need to like go up And then it's going to go up. So it goes over them. We'll get more in here. I want to sort of like down like that. And then I'm gonna get rid of these little orange ones that are here. I'm gonna have it turn the corner here. Ooh. Like that. And let's get these. Couple of those to come down like that. Okay, now I gotta do the crisscross plaid aspect. So it's pretty subtle. I like it. Plaid bedspread. Building this up. There we go. I'm gonna add this out there, a couple little clouds out the window. And then I feel like the headboard needs something. I'm trying to figure out what I want to do. Where's that other color? Is this one? Is that the same? This is the exact same. Lovely. It's a question of how do I get just some odds and ends back here that sort of add some touch. Okay. And then maybe a little shadow underneath the youngin' bedbug here. Let's get that and that. Actually, that's probably the good color right there. Let's do that. Let's grab this. What is this? Pale, no. Mint, pale, no. What is it? Where'd it go? It was misty blue. And just a little touch right there. Maybe it starts out a little small and gets a little bigger. comes out like that. You get it a little bit more underneath the. Throw that guy right there. And let's see, is there anything else I want to do with this? Actually, that's what I want to do. I want to get this a little brighter. I want to do this. I want to get little knobs on those. Knobs. That may be wrapping up. That might be fun. Be done early. What I'll do is I will make a attempt. And I say attempt because it's not going to be great, but attempt at making these shadows just a little bit stronger. Back here where those antennae are up against the headboard. Okay. I'm questioning whether the mama bug needs to have socks on too. If so, should they be white socks? So everybody's got socks on. So everybody's got little socks. Okay. Question is, do I want to do that? Maybe. Let's try it. We'll do that real quick and that'll be the last thing we do. Question of covering up enough. And will it read, especially when it's out here? It's like maybe little ankle socks. They're not very tall. So here's the question: do you wear socks in bed? I didn't realize it was a controversial question until in one class that I had, the students flipped out about it. I think wearing socks in bed is fine. I think anybody who thinks otherwise is a weirdo. Because what do you do when it's freezing cold in the winter? You have freezing cold feet? No. Socks are fine to wear. And I know there's some people that think it's sacrilege. They think, how dare you wear socks in bed? But you know what? Those people are also freezing their tootsies off when it comes to bedtime. And the rest of us normal folks who wear socks to bed are nice and cozy. I mean, during the summer, I don't wear them. I'll give you that. But during the winter, yeah, you can wear socks. Who's to say otherwise, you know? Who do they think they are? In fact, guess what, everybody? I'm wearing socks right now. So there. If you don't like it, Tough luck. I have to suffer for my art. I don't have to suffer for my feet, you know? I've got little ankle socks on. Bed bugs with socks. I don't even know if they're technically bed bugs, but they're bugs in bed. That's close enough. Hey Lauren, do you like wearing socks in bed? She said yes, everybody. What do you think of people who don't like wearing socks in bed? They can go to hell? Wow, Lauren, that was fast.
I think that is fine. However, I don't like people who judge me for wearing socks in bed.
She said that people who wear socks in bed can go straight to H-E-L-L double hockey sticks. That's what she said, everybody. She even spelled it that way, which isn't even the right way to spell it. H-E-L-L double L hockey sticks? That's not even the right, you know, that's like too many L's, I think. But that's what she said, everybody. What? Halaki sticks, yes. Did you marry? Yeah, you wore socks while you're camping, yeah. Now the real question is, did you wear them when you're not camping? Like a normal person? Or did you only wear them when you're camping? Which, like, you can't just choose when and when not to wear socks, you know? It's either you do or you don't. There's no in between. It gets too hot in the summer. Okay, I'll give you. Too hot in the summer? I don't wear them in the summer. I'll give you that. You win that battle. But in the winter, you can't take that, oh, it's too hot claim. Hey, I think I'm done. I don't think I want to do more to this. Is that crazy? Oh, I do want to do one little more thing. I know that didn't make any sense. I want to do one little more thing. Are you laughing at that, Lauren? My wife always laughs at me all the time. She's like, mean, everybody. I say, I want to do one more little thing or something like that. And she goes, you're an idiot. I don't know if you heard her call that down, but she did. She said, I can't believe I married you. You're an idiot. And I was like, wow, that's rude. And then she responded by saying, I don't care. And then she said she's going to try to poop on my pillow tonight. And I was like, uncalled for. And then she said, I'll uncall your face. I was like, again, that's too much. You know? I don't even know what that meant. But she said it. There's another quote for it, Lauren. I'll uncall your face. Ooh, uncall is almost like uncle. Whoa. Bringing it back. That's what we call a callback, people. Okay, let's see. I'm just trying to get this one thing covered up a little bit better right there. I'm just trying to soften up that color a little bit so it's not as irregularly colored as it was before. And then come back in with this yellow and go boom, 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 boom. Where'd that yellow go? Boom, 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 boom. Get like that. A little bit of white in there. We'll pacify it, which I don't know if that's a term, but it is now. We'll pacify that sun. There we go. I think that may be it. How's it look, Lauren? I mean, I'm going to make, I see one other little thing I'm going to do. And it's silly, but I got to do it. I'm going to take this here. Take a little bit of that there. I'm going to get a little bit in here like this, and I'm going to darken it up. I'll make this little guy's butt crack more pronounced. What? Okay, hold on. I'm just going to make this guy's butt crack a little more pronounced. Because it's funny, he's got a little butt crack. Okay, the bedbug question is, can bedbugs get even smaller bedbugs in the bedbug beds? Wait, how many bedbugs can a bedbug get in a bedbug bed? I think, well, okay, so bedbugs are bugs because they're bugs, but also are they bugs because they bug the bed? If that's true, oh, they're a spy. Everybody, bedbugs are spies. No, I was thinking more so like that they just harass the bed, and then if that's true, like, you know, who's harassing who is the question. But I'm thinking more like, what if they think we're the bugs? What if a TV's actually watching us? I'm so high right now. Whoa! What if we're the bugs and they're the bed? What if? What if bugs? Yeah. How many beds could a bedbug bug with a bug with a bed with a bug? How many hugs can a hug bud bed and a bed bug hug bug? If a bed hug and a bug and a big like a bug boo. I got a little tiny question and it's here for you. How many bugs can a bug bed and a bed bag bugs? Bug a dog. Is Dig Dug a bed bug? Okay, I think that's it. I'm stopping. No more, everybody. You can't tempt me. I know you're all out there trying to tempt me. You're saying, hey, Mark, can you paint some more for us? Can you put more paint on it? Oh, don't forget to paint that section over there. I'm not falling for your tricks. No. I'm not going to be swindled. I'm not going to be told what for. I'm just going to clean this up real quick and show it to you, and then I'll be like, haha. This is what I did. Give me a second. I got to fix a box over here that's about to fall apart. Oh, yeah. Looking good. Looking good in the neighborhood. The neighborhood of paint. The neighborhood of pigmentation. The neighborhood of paint. Neighborhood of pigmentation. Congratulations. It's pigmentation time. I'm going to find, instead of the black, watch this, everybody. Instead of the black, I'm going to do this. I'm going to get a different color to set it on. Oh, and I'm also going to trim it down. Because I do not need all of this excess junk on the side. So let's trim this down. That just shifted on me, didn't it? Totally did. Not cool. Blade. Not cool, Wesley Snipes. Because he's Blade, you get it? I don't want it to be that close to the image, but that's fine. Whatever. I'm going to Photoshop it anyway, so it's not like it's a big deal, but just trim it in a little tighter there, which means I'll trim it in a little tighter over here. Get right about there, right about there. Hey, stop shifting on me, thing. Bend it. Trim it this way. Wait, Gavin Diddybox says, but is it bedbugs all the way down? I.e., we get bedbugs in our beds with their own little beds, and those little beds are also infested with bedbugs. Uh-oh! Bedbug multiverse. Probably. I mean, at that point, are the bedbugs infested with beds? You know what I mean? Who's doing the infestation is my question. And that's a question that will never be answered. Only the wisest of the wise can answer this question, see? It goes a little something like this. How many bed bugs can a bug have a bed? If you were a bed, how many bugs would you bed in your bug? 7. 7 bed bugs. Okay, let's get this in here like this. Oh, look at that. Nice and clean. Nice and clean. Oh, yeah, baby. Let's see if I can zoom in on it a little. Ready? Watch it. What's that? Michael Winslow's over? Yeah, I know. There we go. That's looking pretty good right there. How's that, everybody? Woo, 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 woo. Here's the sketch I started with. At one point, the mother had one of those eye mask things on. And then I thought it looked kind of like sunglasses or something, so it felt kind of weird, so I didn't keep that. And the little bed bug is maybe a little older looking here. But I like the idea that the shapes, this one was wide, or tall, and that one was wide, so I wanted to enhance it, and so it became taller and wider. And I also thought it was fun to have the weird little noses, so the noses became that. It's got the little clawed feet. And socks. I didn't have socks in this, but there's socks now. So, that's the drawing, that's the painting, that's the collage for the night. Everybody. I am going to be out for the next 6 days, and on the 7th day, I shall return for Gavin Doodle. Again, our guest will be the one, the only, Juana Martinez Neal. Woo, 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 woo. Who has done books like Alma. Oh, look at how cute this is. Yeah. And then books like Fry Bread. If I can get the glare off it. Fry Bread. There we go. Look how beautiful this book is. Oh, it's beautiful. Oh, it's so beautiful. And so that'll be next Thursday at 8 o'clock. Join me then. Otherwise, you all have a lovely evening, and I'll see you in a week. Bye! I'm still here.